Hi guys, tonight we step quietly into the deep winter of a medieval monastery. The sun is sinking low behind the trees. The air is turning sharp and cold river. It feels like a block of ice against your cheeks. The wind is coming off the flat fields like a cold river, finding every gap in your clothes. You can hear the dry grass snapping under your boots as you walk. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you want to let me know where you are listening from and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing those little snapshots of the world. Now dim the lights and let the story begin. You are walking on a narrow country path. The ground beneath your feet is very hard. It has been frozen solid for weeks. In the summer, this path is made of soft brown mud that sticks to your shoes. But tonight, the mud is frozen into jagged shapes that feel like stone. You have to watch where you step so you do not twist your ankle on the uneven earth. The ground is covered in a thin layer of white frost. It looks like someone spilled flour over the dark soil. The wind is the only thing moving out here in the open. It pushes against your back as if it wants you to hurry up. It whistles through the bare branches of the hedgerows. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The cloak is made of thick, heavy wool. It is a dark grey colour, dyed with simple plants from the garden. It feels rough and scratchy against your neck, but you are glad for it. It is the only thing standing between you and the freezing air. You can smell the wool as you pull it up over your chin. It smells slightly of damp sheep and old wood smoke. It is a heavy, earthy smell that makes you feel a little bit safer. Ahead of you, the path leads to a very large building. It is the abbey. It sits alone in the middle of the wide, empty valley. In these old days, the monks liked to build their homes far away from the busy towns and the noisy markets. They wanted quiet. They wanted to be alone with their thoughts and their prayers. So they found places like this deep in the countryside, where the wind blows harder than anywhere else and the nights are pitch black. The building looks like a dark mountain rising up from the flat ground. It is made of grey stone blocks that were cut from the earth hundreds of years ago. There are no lights in the windows yet. The sun has just gone down, and the sky is turning a deep, bruised purple. The stone walls look tall and strong. They look like they've stood there forever. You can see the square tower of the church reaching up towards the first stars that are just starting to appear. You keep walking. Your boots make a crunching sound on the frozen dirt. Crunch, crunch. It is a steady rhythm. Your boots are made of simple leather. They are old and worn. The leather is stiff from the cold. The soles are thin, so you can feel the hardness of the frozen ground with every step. You can feel the cold seeping up through the bottom of your feet. It is a reminder that the earth is asleep for the winter. To your left and right, the fields are empty. The crops were harvested months ago. Now, the earth is resting. You can see the long lines in the dirt where the plough turned the soil over. The ridges are frozen hard. A few dead leaves skitter across the path, pushed by the wind. They make a dry, scratching sound against the hard ground. There are no birds singing. They are all hiding away, trying to keep warm in their nests. The only sound is the wind and your own breathing. The air is so cold that it hurts your nose when you breathe in. It feels sharp and clean. When you breathe out, you see a cloud of white steam. It hangs in the air for a second, a little ghost of warmth, before the wind tears it away. There are no trees near the walls of the abbey. The ground is bare and open. This was done on purpose. In the past, people wanted to make sure no one could sneak up on the abbey without being seen. But tonight, there are no enemies hiding in the shadows. There is only the cold. The cold is the real enemy here. It waits for the sun to leave, and then it tries to get inside everything. It tries to get inside the stones, the wood, and your clothes. It is a quiet, heavy force that never stops pressing in. You reach the edge of the abbey grounds. A low stone wall marks the line where the wild fields end and the holy ground begins. You step over a small patch of ice. It is a frozen puddle, shaped like a playful spill. The ice is milky white and cracked in the center, where perhaps a deer stepped on it earlier in the day. You are careful not to slip. You look up at the main gate. It is still a little way off, but it is getting closer. It is a dark hole in the massive grey wall. You know that inside those walls, there are men living their lives. They work, they eat, and they sleep, but they do it all in silence, and they do it all in the cold. Most people think of history as kings and battles and gold. But tonight, we are looking at something else. We are looking at the quiet battle for warmth. We are looking at how you survive the night when you have no heating. How do you sleep when your bedroom is a stone box and the temperature drops below freezing? How do you keep your blood warm when you are forbidden to light a fire in your room? You wrap your arms around your chest to keep the warmth in. You can feel the cold trying to press through your sleeves. Your fingers are starting to feel stiff inside your gloves. You need to get inside. You need to get out of this wind. The abbey is waiting for you. It looks silent and still, like a sleeping giant. You lower your head against the wind and take the last few steps towards the heavy wooden gates. You stand before the main entrance. Up close, the gate is even bigger than it looked from the path. It is not just a door, it is a wall made of wood. The timber is old oak, darkened by centuries of rain and sun. It is thick and solid. You can see the grain of the wood, deep lines running up and down like the wrinkles on an old man's face. The wood is so old that it has turned hard as stone. If you knocked on it with your knuckles, it would not make a hollow sound. It would sound solid, like hitting a tree trunk. Huge bands of black iron stretch across the wood. They hold the planks together. The iron is rough and bumpy. It is covered in small pits where rust has tried to eat away at the metal, but the iron is too strong. It has been painted black many times to protect it from the winter weather. You reach out a gloved hand and touch one of the iron bands. Even through your wool glove, you can feel the cold radiating from the metal. It sucks the heat right out of your fingertips. This gate is designed to keep the world out. It keeps out armies and thieves and noise. But tonight, its most important job is to keep out the wind. You can hear the gale pushing against the other side of the heavy timber. The wood creaks a little, a low groaning sound, but it does not budge. It is stubborn. It has held its ground against the 1,000 storms before this one. You do not open the main gates. Those huge doors are too heavy for one person to move. They are only open for big events, like a visit from a bishop or a king, or perhaps a cart bringing in sacks of grain during the harvest. Instead, you look for the smaller door cut into the big one. This is a clever little invention. It is called a wicket gate. It is a small, normal-sized door framed right inside the giant oak planks. It allows a single person to slip in and out without opening the whole wall. It is much easier to open, and more importantly, it stops the cold wind from rushing into the courtyard all at once. It is a way to save heat. In a place where there are no heaters and no fireplaces, every bit of warm air is precious. You do not want to let it escape by opening the giant barn doors. You find the latch. It is a heavy iron ring, polished smooth by thousands of hands over the years. You grip the cold metal ring and twist. There is a heavy clunk sound, the sound of metal lifting metal on the other side. It is a satisfying mechanical noise. You push, the wicket gate swings inward. It is heavy, but it moves smoothly on well-oiled hinges. You step over the high wooden threshold. You have to lift your boot high and duck your head a little to get through. It is like stepping into a small cave. As soon as you pull the door shut behind you, the world changes. The latch clicks into place, and suddenly, the roaring wind is gone. It doesn't disappear completely, but it is muffled. It sounds far away now, like a memory. The air inside the gatehouse is still cold, but it is still. The biting wind is no longer tearing at your cloak. You can stand up straight. Your hood falls back a little. You take a deep breath. The air here smells different. Outside, it smelled of frozen dirt and open fields. Here, inside the thick stone archway, it smells of damp stone, old straw, and the faint, dusty smell of dry leaves. You are standing in the gatehouse passage. It is a short tunnel that leads from the outer door to the inner courtyard. Above your head is a stone ceiling. It is arched, made of pale stones fitted perfectly together. The ceiling protects you from the snow and rain. It feels cozy in here, in a stark, stony way. It is a small pocket of shelter. To your left, there is a small wooden door leading into a tiny room. This is where the porter sits. The porter is an older monk whose job is to watch the gate. He is the guardian of the entrance. Day and night, he listens for a knock. He decides who comes in and who stays out. You can imagine him sitting in there right now. Maybe he has a small candle burning. Maybe he's wrapped in an extra blanket, reading a book of prayers, waiting for the sunrise. He is the first line of defense against the outside world. You pause for a moment in the darkness of the passage. It is very dark here. The walls block out the starlight. You are standing in a deep shadow. You let your eyes adjust. You can see the outline of the archway at the other end of the tunnel. Beyond it, there is a faint grey light, the inner grounds of the abbey. It is quiet, so very quiet. After the noise of the wind outside, this silence feels heavy. It presses against your ears. You can hear the blood rushing in your own head. You can hear the fabric of your cloak rustling as you shift your weight from one foot to the other. This silence is part of the rule. The monks follow a strict set of rules for how to live. One of the most important rules is silence. They believe that God speaks in whispers, so you must be quiet to hear him. At night, this silence becomes absolute. No one speaks. No one shouts. No one laughs. The whole building is holding its breath. You feel a sense of calm wash over you. You are safe inside the walls now. The wild, chaotic world of nature is locked out behind that thick oak door. You are in a place of order. Everything here has a purpose. Everything here has a time and a place. You look at the floor of the passage. It is paved with flagstones. These are large, flat stones pulled from a river or a quarry. They are worn smooth in the center where people have walked for hundreds of years. The stones are uneven, so you have to be careful. In the corners of the passage, dry leaves have gathered in small drifts. The wind blew them in earlier when the gate was open, and now they are trapped here, just like you. You run your hand along the wall of the passage. The stone is rough and tall. It feels damp. Moisture from the air clings to the rock. It feels like touching the wall of a cave. These walls are thick, maybe 3 or 4 feet deep. That thickness is what keeps the building standing, but it is also what holds the cold. Stone is excellent at storing temperature. In the summer, it stays cool, but in the winter, once the stone gets cold, it stays cold. It sucks the heat out of the air. Standing next to the wall, you can feel a cold radiance. It is as if the wall is a block of ice, radiating a chill towards you. But at least there is no wind. That is the most important thing. You brush a few flakes of frost off your shoulder. You adjust your belt. You are ready to move deeper into the monastery. You have passed the first test. You have left the world behind. Now you are entering the world of the night shift. You are entering the world where time is measured not by clocks, but by bells and prayers. You walk towards the end of the tunnel. Your footsteps echo slightly off the vaulted ceiling. Clip, plop. The sound is sharp and clear. You step out from under the stone arch and into the open air of the monastery grounds. The sky opens up above you again, filled with cold, distant stars. But now you are surrounded on all sides by the high, dark shapes of the abbey buildings. You have arrived. You step out of the gatehouse tunnel and into the main courtyard. The sky opens up above you again. It is a deep, dark bowl filled with stars. But you do not look up for long. Your eyes are drawn to the walls that surround you. Everywhere you look, there is stone. To your left, there is a high wall with tall, narrow windows. To your right, another wall stretches away into the darkness. In front of you, the main church rises like a cliff face. It is a world made entirely of grey rock. In the daylight, these stones can look warm. When the summer sun hits them, they turn a soft honey colour. They soak up the heat and feel dry and dusty. But at night, in the middle of winter, the stone changes. It becomes something else. It becomes a trap for the cold. You walk up to the nearest wall. It is the side of the main church building. The stones here are huge. Each block is as big as a chest of drawers. They were cut from the earth by men with hammers and chisels a long time ago. You can still see the marks of the tools on the surface of the rock. Little grooves and scratches with a metal bit into the stone. You reach out your hand. You place your palm flat against the rough surface of the wall. Instantly, the cold bites your skin. It is shocking. It is not just cool. It is freezing. It feels wet, even though there is no rain. The stone is so cold that it feels like it is burning your hand. You pull your hand away after just a few seconds and tuck it back under your cloak to warm it up. Here is the simple truth about stone castles and abbeys. Stone is very heavy. It is very strong. It is perfect for keeping enemies out, but it is terrible for keeping people warm. Stone acts like a battery, but instead of storing electricity, it stores temperature. During the last few weeks, the air has been freezing day and night. The stones have soaked up that freezing temperature slowly, hour by hour. Now, the walls are chilled all the way through to the center. They're like giant blocks of ice standing in the darkness. Even if you lit 100 fires right here in the courtyard, it would take days to warm these walls up. They are too thick. They are too deep. They hold on to the winter. You stand close to the wall, not touching it, but standing near it. You can actually feel the cold coming off it. It is like standing next to an open freezer door. The air right next to the wall is colder than the air in the middle of the courtyard. The wall is sucking the heat out of your body without even touching you. You look up. High above your head, near the roof, you see a stone carving. It is a gargoyle. It is a stone head sticking out from the wall. It has big eyes and an open mouth. It looks like a dragon or a strange dog. In the rain, water shoots out of its mouth so it does not drip down the wall. Tonight, the gargoyle is dry, and it is covered in frost. The white ice crystals sparkle on the stone dragon's nose and ears. It looks like the dragon has been frozen solid in the middle of a roar. It is a small detail, but it shows you how deep the cold has gone. Even the decorations are frozen. You pull your cloak tighter. You are just a small, warm thing moving through a landscape of frozen rock. The silence here is heavy, just like the stones. The walls block out the sound of the wind from the fields. It is a dead silence. The only sound is the soft scuff of your boots on the flagstones. This is the world the monks live in. They do not have wooden walls filled with insulation. They do not have plaster or wallpaper. They live inside a cave that they built themselves, and tonight the cave is trying to freeze them. You realize that survival here is not just about food and water. It is about fighting the stone. It is about finding ways to stay warm when the very building you live in is stealing your heat. You turn away from the tall church wall. You see a path leading across the grass towards a covered hallway. That is where we need to go. That is where the monks spend their day. And that is where we will find the path to the only warm room in the entire abbey. You start to walk again. You move away from the cold shadow of the great wall. You step onto the frozen grass. It crunches loudly under your feet, shattering the silence. You aim for the dark arches of the cloister, hoping to find a little more shelter from the night. You step off the frozen grass and onto a paved stone floor. You are now standing in a long, dark hallway. Above your head, there is a roof made of heavy timber and lead. It blocks out the stars. To your left, there is the solid, comforting wall of the church. But to your right, there is no wall at all. This is the cloister. It is the heart of the monastery. Imagine a big square shape. In the middle is a square garden, open to the sky. Running around the edges of the garden are 4 covered walkways. This is where you are standing now. It feels strange to be here. You have a roof over your head, so you feel like you are indoors. But if you reach out your hand to the right, you are outside. The wall on the right side is just a row of stone columns. Between the columns, there are beautiful arched openings. They look like window frames, but they have no glass. There are no wooden shutters to close. There are no curtains. They are just open holes that look out into the dark garden. This means the weather comes right in with you. Tonight the wind is blowing from the north. It rushes across the open garden in the center. It swirls around the stone columns and pushes through the open arches. It brings the winter inside the hallway. You look down at your feet. The stone floor is not clean. Close to the open arches, there is a long curved line of white. It is a snowdrift. The wind has carried tiny flakes of dry snow through the arches and dropped them here on the floor. The snow sparkles in the dim light. It looks like white sand on a grey beach. You have to walk carefully. The snow is slippery, and where the snow has melted and frozen again, there are patches of clear ice. This walkway is not flat. The stones have been walked on for hundreds of years. Millions of footsteps have worn the stones down in the middle. They are dipped and uneven. If you're not looking, it is easy to trip. You walk slowly down the hallway. On your left, against the solid wall, you see a row of stone benches. They are built right into the wall. This is where the monks sit during the day. This is their library and their school. In the summer, this is a lovely place. The sun shines through the arches. The birds sing in the garden. The monks sit on these stone benches and read their books in the warm light. But tonight, the stone benches look like blocks of ice. You touch one with your gloved hand. It is covered in a layer of gritty frost. You cannot imagine sitting here now. If you sat on this stone bench for even 5 minutes, The cold would travel through your clothes and chill you to the bone. It is abandoned. The books are all put away. The monks are gone. The empty stone seats wait in the dark, collecting dust and frost. You stop walking for a moment. You stand near one of the stone columns. You look out into the central garden. It is called the garth. It is a square patch of grass in the middle of the building. It is completely dark out there. The high roofs of the abbey block out the moon. It looks like a square of black ink. It is so quiet here. The walls of the cloister trap. The silence. You can hear the wind sighing as it passes through the arches. Whoosh, whoosh. It sounds like the building is breathing. Here is a simple fact about these walkways. They were built to be open on purpose. The monks wanted fresh air. They wanted natural light to read by. Glass was very expensive, too expensive to put in all these open arches, so they just left them open. For hundreds of years, men have walked down this hallway in the rain, the snow, and the fog. They just pulled their hoods up and kept walking. You can feel a draft of air hitting your ankles. The cold air sinks to the floor and moves like water. It flows around your boots. You stamp your feet a little to keep the blood moving in your toes. Tap, tap. The sound echoes down the long, empty tunnel of the hallway. There is a small stone trough near the corner of the walkway. It is a place for washing hands. A pipe brings water from a spring nearby. Usually, the water trickles out of a spout with a gentle splashing sound. It is a relaxing noise, like a small stream. But tonight, the water is silent. You walk over to look. The water in the stone basin has frozen solid. It is a thick sheet of grey ice. A single icicle hangs from the metal spout, long and sharp like a dagger. The water has been stopped in its tracks. It is waiting for the spring to return. You realize how tough you have to be to live here. There is no escape from the weather. Even when you are inside the hallway, walking from one room to another, you are fighting the cold. You have to be strong. You have to be patient. You look down the long stretch of the walkway. At the very end, you see a heavy wooden door. It is closed tight. Around the edges of the door, you can see a very faint, warm glow. It is orange and flickering. It is the color of fire. Your heart feels a little lighter. That is where we are going. That is the only place in this whole giant castle of stone where the cold is not allowed to enter. You pull your cloak tight again. You step over a small pile of dead leaves that the wind has blown into the corner. They crunch loudly, sounding like crushing cornflakes. You move faster now. The promise of that orange light pulls you forward. You leave the open arches and the drifting snow behind you. You walk towards the heavy door at the end of the hall. You reach out your hand to the iron latch. You are ready for the warmth. You stand in front of the heavy wooden door at the end of the cloister. The wind is still whistling behind you, blowing snow dust around your ankles. Your nose is numb. Your fingers feel stiff and clumsy inside your wool gloves. You can see a faint orange glow coming from the crack underneath the door. It looks like a line of gold painted on the dark stone floor. You reach out and take hold of the iron door handle. It is just as cold as everything else out here, but you know that on the other side of this wood, everything is different. You push down on the latch with your thumb. Click. The heavy door swings open. A wave of heat hits you in the face. It is soft and thick. It feels like walking into a warm blanket. The air is heavy and still. After the sharp, biting wind of the hallway, this air feels like a physical weight against your skin. It wraps around you instantly. You step inside and quickly push the door shut behind you to keep the precious heat from escaping. The latch clicks, sealing you in. You take a deep breath. The air smells strong. It smells of wood, smoke, deep and earthy. It smells of burning oak and ash. But there is another smell too. It is the smell of damp wool. There are other monks in here, and the heat is drying out the heavy cloaks. It smells like a wet dog, or a pile of laundry drying by a radiator. It is not a sweet smell, but it is a comforting one. It is the smell of safety. You are standing in the Calefactory. That is a big, fancy word, but it has a very simple meaning. It comes from an old language, Latin. Calera means to be warm, so the Calefactory is simply the warming room. This is a very special place. In the entire monastery, this huge castle of stone, with its giant church, its long hallways, its sleeping rooms, and its dining halls, this is the only room allowed to have a fire. Think about that for a moment. Hundreds of rooms, miles of stone corridors, but only here, in this one square room, is there a flame. Everywhere else the temperature is the same as the outside air. If it is freezing in the garden, it is freezing in the church. If it is snowing in the fields, it is freezing in the bedroom. But here, the rules are suspended. Here, for a short time, the monks are allowed to cheat the winter. You look around the room. It is not a very big room. The ceiling is low and arched, made of stone ribs that curve overhead. The stone of the ceiling is not grey like the rest of the abbey. It is pitch black. It is covered in layers and layers of soot. For hundreds of years, smoke from the fire has drifted up and stained the rock. It looks like a dark, starry night sky without the stars. The walls are made of the same rough stone as the outside, but here they feel different. They are dry. The heat has chased away the dampness. The walls seem to glow with a soft orange light. There are no candles in here. The only light comes from the fire itself. The light flickers and dances. It makes shadows jump on the walls. It makes the room feel alive. The corners of the room are dark, hiding in deep shadow. But the center of the room is bathed in that warm golden glow. You start to unfasten your cloak. You do not take it off completely, but you loosen it at the neck. The sudden change in temperature makes your skin tingle. You can feel the blood rushing back into your cheeks. It stings a little, a prickling sensation, like tiny pins pressing against your face. Your ears start to burn as they thaw out. It is a strange mixture of pain and pleasure. Your body is waking up after being frozen. You walk deeper into the room. The floor here is paved with tiles. They are warm under your boots. It feels wonderful. You can imagine the heat seeping up through the soles of your shoes, warming your frozen toes. There are other people here. You see the dark shapes of monks standing around. They are silent silhouettes against the glow of the fire. Some are standing with their backs to the heat, their hands clasped behind them. Others are sitting on stone benches that line the walls. No one is talking. The rule of silence is still in effect. Even though they are relaxing, they do not speak. The only sounds are the crackle of the wood and the soft shifting of feet. Snap. Pop. A log settles in the fire. A spark flies up the chimney. Someone coughs quietly and then is silent again. This silence makes the room feel even warmer. It is a peaceful, shared quiet. Everyone is here for the same reason. They are all refugees from the cold. They are just soaking it in, gathering strength for the long, cold night ahead. You notice a table in the corner. It is made of heavy wood, scarred and scratched. On it, there are a few simple tools. A pot of grease for rubbing into leather shoes to make them waterproof. A small knife for sharpening quills. This room is not just for standing around. It is a workspace. During the day, if a monk needs to do work that requires nimble fingers, he comes here. You cannot write a book if your fingers are frozen stiff. You cannot sew a torn robe if your hands are shaking with cold. So, the warming room is a place of industry too. It is where the ink stays liquid. It is where the wax for seals stays soft. But tonight the work is mostly done. Tonight it is just about survival. You move towards the center of the room. You can feel the heat growing stronger with every step. It pushes against you, welcoming you. You find a spot near a pillar. The stone of the pillar is warm to the touch. You lean your shoulder against it. It feels solid and good. You close your eyes for a second. You listen to the wind howling outside the thick walls. It sounds angry, trying to find a way in. But it cannot touch you here. You are in the heart of the abbey. You are in the one warm pocket of air in a frozen world. It is a simple luxury. In our modern world, we have heating in every room. We have cars with heaters and heated seats and hot water on tap. We forget what a miracle heat is. But here in the 12th century, heat is rare. It is precious. It costs money. Wood must be chopped, hauled, and dried. It takes effort. So, the monks treat this room with respect. They do not waste the heat. They keep the door shut. They share the space. You open your eyes and look at the faces around you. In the firelight, they look tired but peaceful. The lines on their faces are softened by the orange light. They look like old friends. You are all in this together. You are the night shift, waiting out the darkness in the only warm place on earth. You feel your shoulders drop. The tension of the cold walk leaves your body. Your muscles relax. You take another deep breath of that smoky, wall-scented air. It fills your lungs with warmth. You are ready to get closer to the source. You're ready to see the fire itself. But for now, just being in this room, just being out of the wind, is enough. You stand there, leaning against the warm stone, and let the feeling of safety wash over you. You leave the warm stone pillar and move deeper into the room. You are drawn towards the light. Everyone here is doing the same thing. They are like moths circling a lantern. You gently squeeze past a monk who is rubbing his hands together. He nods at you, a tiny movement of his head, and steps aside to let you through. Now you are standing right in front of it. The fire. It is not like the polite little fires we have in our houses today. It is not a small gas flame behind a glass screen. It is a beast. The fireplace itself is enormous. It is built into the thick stone wall. The opening is so wide and so tall that you could walk right inside it without ducking your head. It looks like a small cave. Above the opening, a massive stone hood sticks out into the room to catch the smoke. It is black with soot, darkened by years of heavy use. Inside this stone cave, a mountain of wood is burning. They do not burn small sticks here. They burn tree trunks. Huge, thick logs of oak and ash are piled up on top of each other. Some of them are as thick as your waist. They are heavy and solid. They burn slowly and hot. They are the bones of the forest, giving up their energy to keep you warm. You stand close. The heat is intense. It hits you in waves. It feels like a physical push against your chest and your face. It is a dry, roasting heat. You can feel the skin on your cheeks getting tight. You can feel your eyelashes getting hot. It is a powerful sensation. After being out in the freezing wind, this sudden heat feels almost overwhelming, but in a very good way. You look into the heart of the fire. At the bottom of the pile, deep underneath the big logs, lies a bed of glowing coals. This is the hottest part. It is a deep, angry red color, pulsating with heat. Every now and then, a breath of air hits it, and it glows brighter, turning a fierce orange. It looks like molten rock. It looks like the inside of a volcano. Above the coals, the flames are dancing. They are long and yellow. They lick up the sides of the logs, searching for dry wood to eat. The tips of the flames are blue, disappearing into the dark chimney above. They move constantly. They never stay the same shape for more than a second. It is hypnotic to watch. You can stare at the flames for hours and never get bored. It is better than any television. It is living light. You listen to the fire. It has its own voice. It roars softly, a low, rushing sound like wind in a tunnel. That is the sound of the hot air rushing up the chimney. Every few seconds you hear a sharp crack. That is the wood splitting open as the heat bursts the grain apart. Sometimes you hear a high-pitched hiss. That is a pocket of sap or water inside the wood, boiling and turning to steam. It sings a little song before it vanishes. You hold your hands out towards the flames. Your palms are open. You can see the steam rising off your damp wool sleeves. The heat is drying your clothes right on your body. You can smell the wool getting warm. It is a distinct, toasty smell. You watch a large log in the middle of the pile. It has been burning for a long time. The bark is gone, peeled away by the fire. The wood underneath is black and checkered, like the scales of a dragon. As you watch, a piece of the charcoal breaks off. It falls silently into the red bed of coals below. A shower of golden sparks flies up into the air. They swirl around like tiny fireflies before they fade into the darkness of the chimney. There is a simple truth about standing by a big fire like this. You can never be perfectly warm all over. The front of you is roasting. Your face feels like it is baking, but your back is still facing the cool room. You can feel the cold air creeping up your spine. It is a strange contrast. Your toes are toasty, but your heels are cool. So you have to do the fire dance. Everyone does it. You stand facing the fire for a few minutes until you are too hot. Then you slowly turn around. You put your back to the flames. You clasp your hands behind you, letting the heat warm your lower back and your frozen cloak. You stand like that for a while until your face gets cold again. Then you turn back around. It is a slow, rhythmic rotation. All the monks are doing it. It looks like a slow-motion ballet. Turn. Warm. Turn. Warm. Turn. Warm. You look down at the hearth. The floor of the fireplace is raised up a little bit, made of thick stone slabs. Around the edge, there is a pile of grey ash. This is the ghost of yesterday's fire. It is soft and powdery. It looks like grey snow. When a log falls, a little puff of ash rises up and settles on the hearthstones. It is a reminder that everything here is temporary. The wood grows in the forest for 50 years, and then, in one night, it turns to heat and light and ash. The fire creates a draft in the room. You can feel it around your ankles. The fire needs air to breathe, so it sucks the air from the rest of the room towards the fireplace. This creates a small invisible breeze right at floor level. It rushes past your boots and feeds the flames. It reminds you that the fire is alive. It is eating the wood and breathing the air. You are standing so close now that your eyes start to water a little from the dry heat and the faint wisp of smoke that escapes the hood. But you do not move away. The heat is too good. It is soaking into your bones. It is melting the ice in your joints. You notice a piece of iron sticking out of the wall inside the fireplace. It is a hook. Sometimes they hang a metal pot there to heat water, but tonight the hook is empty. The fire is just for warmth. It is just for comfort. You watch the flames flicker on the stone walls. The light creates long jumping shadows behind the monks. The whole room feels cozy and enclosed. It feels like a den. The rest of the huge cold abbey feels a million miles away. Out there, the wind is screaming. Out there, the frost is biting the stones. But in here, in this circle of light, summer has returned. You take a deep breath of the hot air. It feels dry in your throat. You feel sleepy. The heat makes your eyelids heavy. The sound of the roaring fire is like a lullaby. It washes away the stress of the day. You could just curl up right here on the hearthstones like a cat and go to sleep. But you cannot sleep here. This room is not for sleeping. It is for warming up before you face the cold dark again. It is a temporary stop, a refueling station for your body heat. You look to your side. You see a monk moving towards a table near the fire. He is carrying something in his hand. He is not just here to stand and stare. He has a task to do. He has a task to do. He needs the heat for something specific. You watch him as he sets his small object down on the table. It is a small pot. You are curious. You turn your body slightly, warming your left side now. And watch what he is doing. You step a little closer to the table in the corner. You want to see what the monk is doing. You move quietly, trying not to disturb the peace of the room. The monk does not look up. He is completely focused on the small object in his hands. It is a small round pot. It looks like it is made of dark clay or perhaps a hollowed-out piece of cow horn. He holds it carefully with both hands, cupping it like a precious bird. He looks frustrated. He tilts the pot upside down. Nothing comes out. You lean in to look. Inside the pot, there is a black substance. It is ink. But it does not look like the ink you use today. It is not a smooth, runny liquid. Right now, it looks like black slush. It is thick and chunky. Ice crystals have formed inside the pot. The winter cold has reached even this small jar. Here is a simple fact about the Middle Ages. Writing was a battle against the weather. The ink they use is made from natural things. It is usually a mixture of oak galls. Those are the hard, round bumps you find on oak trees, mixed with water and iron salts. Because it is mostly water, it freezes just like a puddle in the road. When the temperature drops in the unheated library, the ink turns to ice. You cannot dip your pen into a block of ice. You cannot write a letter with frozen slush. The monk sighs quietly. It is a puff of air through his nose. He walks over to the fireplace. He does not put the pot right into the fire. That would be dangerous. The heat would crack the clay or boil the ink, ruining it. Instead, he finds a flat stone on the edge of the hearth. It is warm, but not burning hot. He places the ink pot gently on the stone. Now, he waits. This is a lesson in patience. In our world, if your pen stops working, you just grab another one. You have a drawer full of them. But here, you have to wait for physics to happen. You have to wait for the heat of the fire to transfer into the stone and then into the clay pot and finally into the frozen black sludge. While he waits, the monk pulls something else from his sleeve. It is his pen. It is a long, white feather. It probably came from a goose or a swan. It looks elegant, but it is a tool that needs constant care. You watch his hands. They are interesting hands. His fingers are long and thin. The skin is dry and cracked from the cold air. But the most noticeable thing is the stains. The tips of his first 2 fingers and his thumb are stained permanently black. The ink has soaked into his skin over the years. It is like a tattoo of his trade. It shows that he is a scribe-man who spends his life copying holy books. He pulls out a small knife. It is very small, with a short, sharp blade. This is where we get the word penknife. Originally, it wasn't a knife for your pocket. It was a knife specifically for fixing pens. He holds the feather close to his face to inspect the tip. The tip of a quill is soft. After writing for a few hours, the nib gets soggy and blunt. It stops making a sharp, clean line. The monk holds the feather steady. With a quick, practiced movement, he slices a tiny sliver off the end of the quill. Snick. The sound is very quiet, but you can hear it in the silence. It is a satisfying sound. He carves a new point onto the feather. He cuts a tiny slit in the middle to let the ink flow. He scrapes the side to make it smooth. He does this all by feel and by the dim light of the fire. He has done it thousands of times. He doesn't even need to think about it. He looks back at the ink pot. He reaches out and gives it a little shake. You can hear a sloshing sound. The ice is melting. The slush is turning back into liquid. A smell starts to rise from the pot as it warms up. You catch a whiff of it. It is a sharp chemical smell. It smells a bit like vinegar and old rusty nails. It is an acrid scent. It is not pleasant, like the smell of baking bread or roasting meat. It is the smell of work. It is the smell of work. It is the smell of words being preserved. The monk picks up a small stick and stirs the ink. He moves it round and round, breaking up the last little lumps of ice. He is like a cook stirring a tiny pot of soup. He lifts the stick. The black liquid drips off the end. Drip. Drip. It flows smoothly now. It is ready. He looks relieved. His shoulders relax. If the ink had frozen completely solid, the pot might have cracked, and he would have lost his precious supply. Ink is expensive to make. It takes weeks to brew properly. Saving this little pot is a small victory. He picks up the warm pot. He wraps his cold, stained fingers around it. The warmth of the clay must feel wonderful on his skin. He holds it there for a moment, just enjoying the heat transfer. He is stealing a little bit of the fire's energy to take back with him to his work. He dips the newly sharpened quill into the pot. He pauses, letting the excess ink drip off. Then, he pulls a scrap of parchment from his belt. It is a piece of sheepskin, yellowish and stiff. He tests the pen. He makes a few loop shapes on the scrap skin. You watch the black line appear. It is dark and glossy. It glistens in the firelight. It looks wet and fresh. The pen scratches softly against the skin. Scritch, scratch. He nods. The pen is sharp. The ink is liquid. He is ready to go back to his duty. He caps the pot carefully with a piece of leather and a string. He tucks the pen and the knife back into his sleeve. He stands up from the hearth. He bows his head slightly towards the fire, as if thanking it for its help. You realize that the Calefactory is not just a place for lazy comfort. It is a machine that keeps the monastery running. Without this room, the ink would freeze, the glue would harden, and the oil would turn to wax. The work of the abbey would grind to a halt. This fire keeps the history flowing. It keeps the books being written. The monk turns and walks away from the light. He heads back towards the dark, cold corner of the room, or perhaps he is brave enough to head back out into the freezing cloister to do his writing. He takes the small pocket of warmth with him in the jar. You stay by the fire. You are not ready to leave yet. You watch the space where the ink pot was sitting. The stone is still there, empty now. A small ring of moisture is drying on the rock where the pot sat, vanishing before your eyes as the heat eats it up. It makes you think about how hard simple things used to be. Writing a sentence required a fire, a knife, a bird's feather, and a pot of oat juice. It required patience. It required fighting the winter itself. You rub your own hands together. They are feeling much better now. The stiffness is gone. You can move your fingers easily. You feel strong again. The fire has done its job. It has recharged you. But you know you cannot stay here forever. The night is moving on. The bells will ring soon. But for now, you just enjoy the sensation of having warm hands in a cold world. You look around to see what the other monks are doing. They are all still quiet, all still absorbing the heat. You decide to do the same. You decide to really focus on how the warmth feels entering your body. You turn your attention back to the flames. The monk with the ink pot has gone, and now it is just you and the fire again. You decide to stop moving. You decide to stop looking around at the room or the other people. You are going to do the one thing your body is screaming for. You are going to stand absolutely still and let the heat do its work. You plant your feet firmly on the warm flagstones. You spread your legs a little bit to balance your weight. You unclench your hands and let them hang loose by your sides. You take a slow, deep breath, filling your chest with that smoky, dry air. And then you wait. You imagine your body is like a sponge. Outside, in the wind and the snow, the sponge was squeezed dry and frozen hard. But now you are dipping that sponge into a bucket of warm water. You are letting the warmth soak in. It starts with your clothes. You are wearing layers of heavy wool. On the outside, you have your cloak. Under that, you have your habit, the long tunic that goes down to your ankles. Under that, a simple shirt. The cold air had turned these layers into a suit of armor. The fabric was stiff and cold against your skin. It felt like wearing a sheet of metal. But now, the heat is attacking the wool. It presses against the thick fabric. The wool fibers begin to warm up. They expand. They soften. The stiffness leaves the cloth. You can feel the weight of your cloak changing. It stops feeling like a cold shell and starts feeling like a heavy, warm blanket draped over your shoulders. Then the heat travels deeper. It passes through the layers of cloth and reaches your skin. It is a tingling feeling. It starts on your face and the front of your thighs, the parts facing the fire. It feels like gentle sunlight, but stronger. It feels like a physical touch. It is as if someone is pressing a warm towel against your forehead and your cheeks. The skin on your face feels tight and dry. Your cheeks feel flushed. If you looked in a mirror right now, your face would be bright red, glowing like a ripe apple. The heat pushes deeper still. It goes past the skin and into the muscles. This is the best part. When you are cold, your body fights back. Your muscles get tight. Your shoulders hunch up towards your ears. Your jaw clenches. Your stomach muscles tighten into a knot. You spend hours walking around in a state of tension, trying to hold yourself together against the wind. But here, by the fire, that war is over. You feel your shoulders drop. They sink down 2 or 3 inches. You feel the muscles in your neck loosen. The knot in your stomach unties itself. Your knees, which felt like rusty hinges out in the cold cloister, start to feel loose and oily again. The tension melts away like wax dripping down a candle. It is a feeling of heavy, sleepy relief. You feel the warmth reaching your bones. It is a strange thing to say. Chilled to the bone, but everyone knows what it feels like. It is a deep, aching cold that sits right in the center of your skeleton. It makes your elbows and your ankles ache with a dull, throbbing pain. Standing here, you can feel that ache fading. The heat seems to vibrate through you. It chases the cold out of your joints. You wiggle your toes inside your boots. 10 minutes ago, you could not feel them at all. They were just numb blocks of wood at the end of your feet. Now, they are tingling. You can feel the leather of your boot, the roughness of your sock, and the stone floor underneath. You are reconnecting with your own body. You stare into the fire. This is called fire gazing. It is a kind of magic. When you look at the flames, your brain stops thinking about problems. You stop worrying about the work you have to do tomorrow. You stop worrying about the cold bedroom waiting for you upstairs. Your mind goes blank. The fire is never the same picture twice. You watch a tongue of orange flame shoot up and curl over like a wave on the beach. Then it vanishes. You watch a glowing red patch on a log pulse and dim, like a breathing heart. You watch the white ash build up on the edges of the wood, looking like snow on a mountain peak. It is hypnotic. The movement of the light traps your eyes. You feel yourself drifting. You are awake, but you are dreaming. The sound of the roaring fire fills your ears, drowning out the world. Roar, crackle, hiss. It is white noise. It washes over you, smoothing out your thoughts. You are in a trance. You lose track of time. Have you been standing here for 5 minutes or an hour? It is hard to tell. In this room, time seems to slow down. The sand in the hourglass gets stuck. There is only the heat and the light and the feeling of being safe. You notice the smell again. As your clothes warm up, they release the scents of the day. You smell the faint grassy scent of the hay you walked through earlier. You smell the beeswax from the church candles that has clung to your sleeves. You smell the earth and the rain, and over it all the strong cleaning smell of the wood smoke. It is a primitive smell. It is the smell of survival. For thousands of years, humans have stood by fires just like this one, smelling this same smell, grateful for the warmth. You are part of that long line of people. You look at your hands, they're hanging by your sides. The veins on the back of your hands are standing out a little more now. The blood is flowing freely. Your skin looks pink and healthy, not pale and blue like it was outside. You flex your fingers. They move easily. You make a fist, then open it. It feels good. Your body is a tool, and the fire has fixed it. You are aware of the other monks around you. You cannot see them clearly because you're staring at the bright fire, so they're just dark shapes in your side vision. But you can feel them. You can hear their breathing. You can hear the rustle of their clothes. You are sharing this heat. It is a communal pot of soup, and everyone is taking a sip. There is a sense of peace in the shared silence. You do not need to talk to them to know they feel exactly what you are feeling. They are also feeling the thaw. They are also feeling the heavy relief of the muscles letting go. You are all brothers in the cold, finding sanctuary in the light. The heat is getting intense now. The front of your habit feels hot to the touch. If you touch the wall, it would feel like a hot stone. The heat is almost too much. It is making you sweat a little under your heavy clothes. A bead of sweat forms on your forehead and trickles down your temple. It tickles, but you do not wipe it away. It is a badge of honor. It proves you have won. You have defeated the winter, at least for a few minutes. You take one last moment to just exist in this warmth. You store it up. You try to remember exactly how this feels, the roasting skin, the loose muscles, the hot air in your lungs. You will need this memory later. You will need to hold on to this feeling when you are lying in the dark in the cold room upstairs. You are charging your internal battery. But even as you stand there, half asleep on your feet, your eyes catch a movement. Something is happening near the edge of the fire. The fire is not just for warming people. It is being used for something else. Something clever. You blink your eyes, shaking off the trance. You look down towards the bottom of the fire grate. There, nestled right next to the burning coals, is a pile of objects. They look like grey loaves of bread. But they are not bread. You lean forward slightly, squinting against the glare of the flames to see what they are. It seems the monks have one more trick to help them survive the night. You focus your eyes on the strange pile at the base of the fire. You step a little closer, shielding your face with your hand because the heat is so strong down there. You look past the flames, past the glowing red wood, to the stone floor just to the side of the burning logs. There, sitting in a neat stack, are stones. They are not just random rocks from the garden, these are special. They are oval-shaped and smooth. They are about the size of a large loaf of bread or a flattened football. They are grey and speckled with little flecks of white. These are river stones. Years ago, a monk must have walked down to the river valley. He must have waded into the cold, rushing water. He wasn't looking for fish. He was looking for rocks. He looked for stones that had been tumbled by the water for thousands of years. The river acts like a polishing machine. It grinds off all the sharp edges. It makes the stones round and smooth. This smoothness is very important. If you are going to put a rock in your bed, you do not want it to have sharp corners. You do not want it to snag your wall sheets or poke you in the ribs while you sleep. You want it to be as smooth as an egg. But there is another reason they chose these specific stones. It is the type of rock. It is likely a dense stone, maybe granite or soapstone. Soapstone is the best. It is a magical material. It is soft to the touch, almost like dry soap, which is why it has that name. But its real magic is how it handles heat. Soapstone loves heat. It soaks it up greedily, and once it gets hot, it holds onto that heat for a very, very long time. It is a thermal battery. A brick might stay hot for an hour, but a good piece of soapstone heated properly can stay warm for half the night. The stones are piled carefully. They are close to the fire but not in the fire. This is a crucial detail. If you threw these rocks right into the middle of the flames, they would get too hot. They might crack or explode from the sudden temperature change, and if they got red hot, they would burn your bed sheets instantly. So, the monks placed them on the apron of the hearth. This is the stone area just in front of the fire. It is hot enough to cook an egg here, but it is not directly in the flames. The stones sit there for hours. They sit there all evening, slowly absorbing the energy from the fire. You can see the heat shimmering in the air above the stones. It looks like the air is wobbling. That is the energy radiating off the rocks. They look innocent, just grey lumps of stone. But if you touch one with your bare hand right now, it would blister your skin. They are silent, burning hot little engines. You notice that there are not enough stones for everyone. There are maybe 10 or 12 stones in the pile. But there are 50 monks in the monastery. Who gets the hot rocks? It is not a lottery. It is not first come, first served. The monastery is a disciplined place. Everything is done by rank and by need. The first stones go to the old men, the monks who have been here for 50 years. Their blood is thin, their bones ache in the cold. The winter is dangerous for them. A deep chill could make them sick, and in these days, sickness often leads to death. So the young men protect the old. It is a simple act of kindness. The oldest brothers get the warmest beds. The next stones go to the sick. If a monk is coughing or has a fever, he gets a stone. The heat helps him sweat out the sickness. It helps him sleep so he can recover. The rest of the monks, the young, strong novices, they usually have to go without. They have to rely on their own body heat. They have to be tough. It is part of their training. It teaches them endurance. But tonight is bitter cold. Tonight the wind is screaming. So perhaps the rules are bent a little. You see a large pile tonight. Maybe tonight everyone gets a little bit of help. You watch the stones sitting there. They look ancient. They have probably been used for this purpose for 100 years. Every winter they are brought out of the cupboard. Every night they are placed by the fire. Every night they are placed by the pyre. Every morning they are cold again. It is a cycle. These stones have warmed the feet of generations of men. They are part of the family. You wonder how they move them. You cannot just pick them up. They are far too hot. You would need tools. You look around the fireplace. Leaning against the wall, you see a pair of long iron tongs. They look like giant scissors with flat ends. These are the stone movers. You also see something else. On a bench nearby, there is a stack of cloths. They look like thick folded blankets. They are made of old wool, probably pieces of old cloaks that were too worn out to wear anymore. Instead of throwing them away, the monks cut them up into squares. These are the wrappers. You cannot put a naked hot stone into a bed. It would scorch the sheets and burn your toes. You have to wrap it up. You have to dress the stone in its own little coat. The system is simple but brilliant. It is low-tech engineering. No electricity. No gas. No complex pipes. Just a river rock, a fire, and a piece of old wool. It is sustainable, free, and it works. You feel a new respect for these men. They do not just suffer the cold, they outsmart it. They use what they have: stones, wood, wool, to create a livable environment in a hostile place. You are distracted by a movement. A monk is stepping forward. He is carrying a piece of the thick wool cloth in his hands. He is moving towards the pile of stones. It seems it is time. The process of the night loading is about to begin. You watch closely. This is a delicate operation. You do not want to drop a burning hot rock on your foot. You watch the monk step closer to the fire. He is the stone master for tonight. It is his job to prepare the heaters. He moves with slow, careful steps. He knows that mistakes here can be painful. He reaches for the iron tongs leaning against the wall. They are long and black, made by the blacksmith in the village. They look like the claws of a large bird. He grips the handles with both hands. The iron is heavy. He has to use his shoulder muscles to lift them. He lowers the open jaws of the tongs towards the pile of stones. He chooses a large oval stone right in the middle. It has been sitting closest to the red coals. It must be fiercely hot. He squeezes the handles. The metal claws clamp shut around the rock. Clink. The sound of metal on stone rings out softly in the quiet room. He lifts. The stone comes up into the air. It is heavy. You can see the muscles in his forearms tighten as he fights the weight. The stone is a dark, dull grey. It doesn't look like it is glowing, but you can feel the heat radiating from it as it passes by you. It pushes a wave of hot air against your face. He turns towards the wooden bench. Laid out on the bench is a square of cloth. This cloth is interesting. It is not a fine, silky material. It is thick, rough, and lumpy. It is a piece of old blanket. In the monastery, nothing is ever thrown away. When a monk's tunic gets too old and filled with holes, they do not toss it in the rubbish. They cut it up. They use the good parts for patches. They use the scraps for cleaning rags. And they use the thickest, strongest pieces for wrapping the firestones. The monk gently lowers the stone onto the center of the cloth. As soon as the hot rock touches the fabric, a smell hits the air. It is a very distinct smell. It smells like ironing a shirt, but stronger. It is the smell of hot wool. It is a dry, dusty, comforting scent. It smells like safety. If the stone was too hot, the wool would start to smoke. It might even catch fire. That is why the monk has to be skilled. He has to know exactly when the stone is ready hot enough to last the night, but not hot enough to burn the house down. It is a guessing game played with fire. He works quickly now. He does not want the stone to lose its heat to the cold air of the room. He wants to trap that heat inside the bundle. He takes one corner of the wall square and folds it over the stone, then the next corner, then the next. He wraps it tight like a mother swaddling a baby. He tucks the loose ends underneath so they won't come undone. Now the stone is hidden. It just looks like a lumpy, grey parcel. He presses his gloved hand on top of the bundle. He holds it there for a second. He's testing the temperature. Through the thick layer of wool, the heat should feel gentle. It should feel warm, not burning. He nods. It is perfect. The wool acts as a filter. It takes the angry, biting heat of the stone and turns it into a soft, slow warmth. It releases the heat gradually over many hours. If you put the naked stone in your bed, it would be cold in an hour. But wrapped in the wool, it will keep glowing with warmth until the early morning. He picks up the bundle. He holds it against his chest for a moment. He is stealing a little bit of the warmth for himself before he gives it away. It must feel wonderful, a hot, heavy weight pressing against his heart. He places the finished bundle on the end of the bench and turns back to the fire. He picks up the tongs again. He reaches for another stone. One by one, he wraps them. Lift. Wrap. Wold. Tuck. It is a rhythmic job. It is soothing to watch. The pile of wrapped stones grows on the bench. They look like loaves of bread fresh from the oven. You look at the cloth scraps again. You can see the history in them. Some are dark black, the color of the normal habits. Some are faded to a light grey, washed out by years of laundry. Some have patches sewn onto them. These scraps of cloth have lived a long life. They have protected monks from the rain and the snow for years, and now, in their old age, they have one last job. They are the guardians of the heat. The monk finishes the last stone. He puts the tongs back against the wall. He wipes his hands on his tunic. His face is red from standing so close to the fire. He looks satisfied. The ammunition for the war against the cold is ready. The room is very quiet now. The work is done. The monks who are lucky enough to get a stone step forward. They pick up their bundles. They handle them with reverence. They hold them with both hands, cradling them close to their bodies. You can see the relief in their eyes. They know that tonight they will not have to shiver. They have a secret weapon. They have a piece of the fire to take with them into the dark. You realize how simple happiness can be. In our world, we think we need new phones and fast cars and expensive holidays to be happy. But here, happiness is just a warm rock wrapped in an old rag. It is the promise that your toes will not freeze. It is the promise of a few hours of comfortable sleep. The atmosphere in the room changes. The relaxation time is over. The monks are gathering themselves. They're pulling their hoods up. They're tightening their belts. They're preparing to leave this warm paradise. You feel a little sad. You do not want to leave the fire. You want to stay here all night, curled up on the hearthrug. But that is not allowed. The warming room is a privilege, not a home. The monk with the last stone turns towards the door. He puts his hand on the latch. He pauses, looking back at the fire one last time. He's saying good night to the light. Then you hear a sound from outside. It is faint at first, muffled by the thick walls. But then it comes again, clearer this time. Dong. It is a bell. It is a deep, low sound. It vibrates through the stone floor. It cuts through the silence of the room. It is not a fast, happy ring. It is a slow, solemn toll. Dong. It is the signal. The day is officially over. The time for sitting and warming your hands is finished. The schedule of the monastery moves on without mercy. You take one last deep breath of the wood smoke. You try to memorize the feeling of the heat on your face. You look at the glowing coals one last time. You know that in a few seconds you will be back in the cold. You turn away from the fire. You join the line of monks moving towards the door. You are ready to face the night stairs. The bell continues to ring. Dong. It is a slow, steady rhythm. The sound comes from high up in the stone tower, far above your head, but you can feel it down here on the ground. The sound travels through the fixed stone walls. It vibrates through the floorboards. You can feel it thumping gently in your chest, right behind your ribs. This is not a frantic alarm. It is not hurrying you up. It is a calm, heavy voice. It is telling you that the day is done. The work is finished. The talking is finished. The world is ready to sleep. The monks call this time compline. It is a fancy word, but it has a simple meaning. It comes from the word complete. The day is complete. Everything that needed to happen has happened. Now it is time to shut the doors and close your eyes. You watch the monks around you. As soon as the first bell rang, the movement in the room changed. The relaxed mood is gone. The men straighten their backs. They pull their hands out of their sleeves. They form a line. It happens instantly without anyone saying a word. They are like soldiers, but soldiers of peace. They have heard this bell every night of their lives. Their bodies know exactly what to do. But before you leave, there's one last important job to do. You cannot just walk away and leave a huge fire burning. That would be a waste of good wood, and it would be dangerous. If a log rolled out while everyone was asleep, the whole abbey could burn down. So, you watch the fire master. He steps up to the fireplace again. He picks up a large iron shovel. He does not pour water on the fire. That would kill it completely. Then, in the morning, the poor monk on the early shift would have to start all over again with cold flint and steel. That takes too long. Instead, he does something called banking the fire. He takes the shovel and scoops up the grey ash from the edge of the hearth. He pours the ash over the glowing red coals. He buries them. He builds a small mountain of grey dust on top of the heat. It looks like he's putting the fire out, but he is not. He's putting the fire to sleep. The layer of ash acts like a blanket. It stops the air from getting to the coals, so they burn very, very slowly. They will stay hot and red underneath that grey pile all night long. In the morning, the monk will just rake away the ash, throw on some dry twigs, and whoosh, the fire will roar back to life in seconds. This is actually where we get the word curfew. It comes from the old French words couvre-feu, which means cover the fire. When the bell rang, it was time to cover your fire and go to bed. As the ash covers the coals, the light in the room begins to die. The bright orange glow fades away. The dancing shadows on the walls stop moving. The room turns grey and dim. The corners fill up with darkness again. Suddenly the room feels colder. The heat is still there, trapped in the stones. But the source of the life is gone. The visual warmth has vanished. It is a sign that your time in this paradise is up. The fire master places the shovel against the wall. He joins the back of the line. The first monk opens the heavy wooden door. Whoosh! The sound of the wind rushes in. It greets you like an old cold friend. A draft of freezing air sweeps across the floor, swirling around your ankles. It chases away the last bit of cozy heat. You pull your cloak tight around your throat again. You brace yourself. You step out of the Calefactory and back into the cloister hallway. The shock is instant. After the roasting heat of the fire, the hallway feels like walking into a waterfall of ice water. The air is sharp and thin, it bites your nose, it makes your eyes sting. You gasp a little as the cold hits your warm lungs. You are back in the shadows. The only light now comes from a single lantern carried by the monk at the front of the line. It is a small box with a candle inside. The sides are made of thin scraped horn, not glass, so the light is yellow and murky. It casts long, swinging shadows against the stone columns. You walk in the line. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. The sound of sandals and boots on the stone floor echoes down the empty walkway. No one speaks. The bell is still ringing above you, but it is getting quieter now, slowing down. Dong, dong. You look out at the garden in the center of the cloister. It is pitch black out there. The snow is invisible in the dark. You can just hear the wind rattling the dry branches of a bush. It feels like the whole world has disappeared, leaving only this line of men walking through a tunnel of stone. This bell rules your life. In the modern world, we have watches on our wrists and phones in our pockets. We check the time 100 times a day. We worry about being late. We rush to catch trains, but here, there are no clocks. There are no minutes. There are only the bells. The bell tells you when to wake up. It tells you when to eat. It tells you when to work. And now, it tells you when to rest. It is a simple way to live. You do not have to make decisions. You just listen and you obey. There is a strange freedom in that. You do not have to worry about what time it is. The bell will tell you. The line of monks turns a corner. You are heading towards the church, but you are not going to the main entrance. You are heading for a small, narrow door in the corner of the building. This door leads to the most important staircase in the abbey. It is the staircase that connects the world of the awake to the world of the asleep. The bell gives one last ring. The sound hangs in the frozen air for a long time, fading away slowly until you can't tell if you are hearing it or just remembering it. Silence returns. The wind takes over again. You reach the narrow door. The monk in front of you pushes it open. You see a flight of stone steps rising up into the darkness. They look steep. They look cold. You clutch your hands together inside your sleeves. If you are lucky enough to be carrying a wrapped hot stone, you squeeze it tight against your stomach. It is your only comfort now. You take a deep breath of the frosty air. You lift your foot. You are ready to climb. You are ready to see where the night shift sleeps. You stand at the bottom of the staircase. It disappears up into the gloom. The light from the single lantern doesn't reach the top. It just shows you the first few steps. These are the night stairs. They have a very specific job. In a normal house, stairs are just a way to get from one floor to another. But in a monastery, these stairs are a bridge between two worlds. They connect the church, where the monks pray, to the dormitory, where the monks sleep. They were built this way for speed. When the bell rings in the middle of the night for prayers, the monks need to get down to the church fast. They do not want to walk outside in the snow. They do not want to walk through the long, cold cloisters. They want a shortcut. So the builders made this direct tunnel. You take the first step. You immediately notice something about the stone. The step is not flat. It is dipped in the middle. Imagine a stone bar of soap that has been used for a long time. It gets thin and curved in the center. That is exactly what these stairs look like. For 300 years, men have walked up and down these steps every single night. Their leather sandals have acted like sandpaper. Slowly, night after night, they have ground the stone away. This makes the climb a little bit tricky. You have to place your feet carefully. If you step on the edge, it is flat, but if you step in the middle, your foot slides into the smooth, shallow bowl. It is slippery. You have to pay attention, even though you are tired. You start to climb. Step, breath. Step, breath. The staircase is narrow. It is only wide enough for one person. The stone walls press in on both sides. You can feel the cold radiating from them. There is no wooden handrail to hold onto. There is only the rough stone wall. You put your hand out and trail your fingers along the cold blocks to steady yourself. The air here is strange. You might think it would get warmer as you go up, because heat rises. But in this old stone building, the air moves like water. The huge sleeping room at the top is full of cold air. That cold air is heavy. It spills out of the room and flows down the stairs like an invisible river. As you climb, you are walking up into the current of cold air. You can feel it brushing past your face. It smells of old dust and cold timber. You look at the back of the monk in front of you. He is climbing slowly. The older monks struggle with these stairs. Their knees are stiff from the cold. You can hear their heavy breathing. Huff, huff. It echoes in the tight space. But no one stops. No one complains. The line keeps moving. You count the steps in your head to stay focused. 5, 6, 7. It is pitch black behind you. The darkness feels heavy, like it is chasing you up the stairs. The only safety is the faint yellow light bobbing ahead. You keep your eyes locked on that light. You think about how many times these men make this climb. Every night of their lives. When they are young and strong, they run up these stairs. When they are old and grey, they pull themselves up, one heavy step at a time. The stairs are a measure of their life. You reach a turn in the staircase. The stone steps fan out like a deck of cards. You have to step on the wide part of the wedge. You stumble slightly, your boots scraping loud on the grit. You catch yourself against the wall. The stone feels damp under your palm. You are getting higher now. You are leaving the ground floor behind. You are moving up into the roof space of the abbey. The air feels thinner here and somehow even quieter. The sound of the wind outside is different. Down below it was a roar. Up here it is a whistle. It is whipping around the roof tiles just a few feet away from your head. You can see the top of the stairs now. There is a dark archway. Beyond it, there is a vast, empty blackness. You take the last few steps. Your legs burn a little from the climb. The heavy wool of your clothes pulls at your movements. You reach the top landing. You step through the archway. The feeling of the space changes instantly. You are no longer in a tight, narrow tunnel. You have stepped into a huge, open void. The air is still and silent. You have arrived at the dormitory. This is the place of sleep. This is where the night shift rests. You pause at the top of the stairs to catch your breath. You let your eyes adjust to the new shape of the darkness. You are about to see where you will spend the night. You are standing at the threshold of the dormitory. It takes a moment for your brain to understand what you are seeing. You are used to bedrooms being small, private places. A bedroom is usually just big enough for a bed, a wardrobe, and maybe a chair. It is a cozy little box. But this is not a box. This is a cavern. The room is enormous. It is incredibly long. It stretches away from you into the darkness, seemingly going on forever. You cannot even see the far wall. It is swallowed up by the shadows. It looks more like a barn or a great hall than a place for sleeping. The ceiling is high above your head. It is not made of stone like the church or the cloister. It is made of wood. Huge, dark beams of timber crisscross the space. They look like the ribs of a giant whale. If you looked up, you would see the underside of the roof tiles. There is no plaster ceiling to hide them. This room runs the entire length of the building below. It is a vast, open tunnel of air, and because it is right under the roof, it is the coldest place in the entire abbey. Heat rises, they say, but in a building like this, the heat gets lost. It drifts up from the warming room far below. But by the time it reaches this huge, drafty attic, it has vanished. The cold, however, is heavy. It presses down on the roof. It seeps through the clay tiles. It falls from the wooden beams like invisible rain. You take a step forward. The floor here is different too. It is not stone, it is wide wooden planks. They are polished smooth by centuries of feet. They creak softly under your weight. Creak. Groan. The floor sounds alive. In a room this quiet, every noise seems loud. If you dropped a pin at one end of the hall, you might hear it at the other. You walk down the center of the room. This is the main aisle. It is a wide path that runs straight down the middle of the hall, from one end to the other. On either side of you, lining the walls, are the sleeping spaces. We will look at them closely in a moment, but for now just look at the rows. They go on and on. Row after row, dark shapes. It looks like a hospital ward or a barracks for soldiers. There is no privacy here. That is the first thing you realize. In our modern world, we value our privacy. We want to shut the door. We want to be alone. But the monks believe that privacy leads to bad behavior. If you are alone, you might get lazy. You might forget your prayers. You might think selfish thoughts. So they sleep together. They sleep in a community. Even in their dreams, they are part of the group. The air in here smells different from the rest of the abbey. Downstairs, it smelled of incense and smoke. Here, it smells of sleep. It is a musty human smell. It smells of old straw mattresses and wool blankets. But there is something else too. A faint, sweet smell. Lavender. The monks sprinkle dried herbs on the floor. Lavender, rosemary, and sometimes dry ferns. They do this to keep the bugs away. Fleas and lice hate the strong smell of the herbs. So, as you walk, you crush the dry leaves under your boots, releasing a tiny puff of fresh garden scent into the cold air. It is a reminder of summer in the middle of winter. You stop in the middle of the long aisle. You feel very small. The darkness presses in on you from all sides. The single lantern at the front of the line of monks is moving away from you, drifting down the hall like a firefly. You look at the windows. They are small and narrow, set deep into the thick walls. They are not designed to let in a view. They are just slits to let in a little bit of light. Tonight they show squares of dark blue night. You can see the stars twinkling through the glass. The moonlight spills onto the floor in pale, milky pools. Because you are high up, the wind sounds different here. It is not blocked by walls anymore. It is hitting the roof directly above you. You can hear it tearing at the tiles. You can hear the timber beams groaning as the wind pushes against the roof. It sounds like being on a ship in a storm. The whole building feels like it is swaying slightly in the gale. It is a lonely sound. It makes you feel exposed. Down in the cloister, you felt protected by the stone. But up here, under the wooden roof, you feel close to the elements. There is only a layer of clay tile and a wooden board between you and the freezing sky. You can see your breath puffing out in front of you. It forms large white clouds that hang in the still air. It is definitely below freezing in here. If you left a cup of water by your bed, it would be a solid block of ice by morning. You wrap your arms around yourself. The warmth you gathered by the fire downstairs is starting to fade. The cold is creeping back in, finding the gaps in your cloak. You need to find your place. You need to get under some covers. The line of monks is dispersing now. They are peeling off one by one to their own spots. They move like ghosts. They do not say a good night. They do not chat. They just drift silently into the shadows on the left and the right. You watch them go. It is a somber sight. There is no laughter. There is no unwinding after a long day. There is just the silent, serious business of getting ready for bed. This room is designed for one thing only: rest. It is not a place to hang out. It is a functional space. It is a warehouse for sleeping bodies. The monks are like batteries that have run empty. They come up here to recharge so they can work again tomorrow. You keep walking down the aisle. You are looking for an empty spot. As you walk, you pass the other monks. You see them turning down their covers. You see them kneeling for a final, silent prayer. The scale of the room makes the silence feel heavy. It is a great silence. It feels like the air itself is thick. You try to walk softly so your boots don't make too much noise on the floorboards. You don't want to disturb the peace. You reach a section near the middle of the hall. It seems a little less drafty here, away from the door and the windows. This is where you will stop. This is where you will try to survive the night. You turn to your left. You step off the main aisle and move towards the wall. You are entering your own little territory. It is not a room exactly. It is just a small slice of the big hall. But for the next few hours, it is yours. You look around at the structure that separates you from your neighbor. It is not a stone wall. It is something much simpler and much colder. It is time to look at the cell itself. You step off the main aisle and into your personal space. You might call it a room, but that is not quite the right word. It is more like a stall. In a modern house, a wall is something solid. It goes from the floor to the ceiling. It blocks out light and sound. When you close the door, you are in your own private box. But here the walls are just thin sheets of wood. You reach out and tap the partition with your knuckle. Rap, rap. It makes a hollow, dry sound. It is not solid stone. It is just a simple wooden screen. It is made of oak planks that have been nailed together. The wood is old. It has turned a dark, rich brown color over the years. If you look closely, you can see the grain of the wood running up and down like flowing water. You can see where the carpenter's saw cut the timber 100 years ago. There are little marks and scratches where generations of monks have bumped into it with their elbows or their boots. The most important thing about this wall is its height. It does not go all the way up to the roof. It stops about 6 feet off the ground. This means that if you stand on your tiptoes, you can look right over the top into your neighbor's space. And if you are lying in bed, looking up, you do not see a ceiling. You just see the vast, dark emptiness of the dormitory roof above you. This design is very deliberate. It is called wainscoting. The monks did not build 4 walls for a reason. They wanted to keep an eye on everyone. The abbot, the head of the monastery, needs to know that everyone is safe and behaving. He needs to know that you are actually in bed, not sneaking out. He needs to know you are sleeping, not reading by a hidden candle. So, the walls are low. This way the abbot can walk down the center aisle carrying his lantern, and the light will spill over the top of the wooden screens. He can see into every single cell without opening a door. He can check the whole night shift in one glance. It makes you feel a little bit exposed. Even though you have a wall next to you, you are not truly hidden. You are like a horse in a stable. You have your own stall, but you are still part of the big barn. You run your hand along the top edge of the wooden partition. It is smooth. It has been polished by thousands of hands gripping it over the years. But it is also dusty. You can feel a fine layer of grit on your fingertips. There is a big problem with these thin wooden walls. They do not stop the cold. Stone walls are cold, but at least they block the drafts. These wooden boards are too thin. They have gaps between the planks. As the wood gets old, it shrinks. It warps and twists. This creates tiny cracks between the boards. You put your eye next to one of these cracks. You can see a tiny slice of light from the lantern in the aisle. But more importantly, you can feel the air moving through it. The cold air in the dormitory flows like water. It spills over the top of the wall. It seeps through the cracks. It moves under the bottom gap near the floor. You are in a box, but the box has holes. There is no way to seal yourself in. You cannot shut a window or stuff a towel under the door. You just have to accept that the air inside your stall is exactly the same temperature as the air outside it. And then there is the sound. Because the walls don't go to the ceiling, sound travels freely over the top. You can hear everything. You stand very still in your little cubicle. You listen. To your left, you can hear a monk taking off his sandals. Scrape, thud. You hear the leather strap hit the floor. To your right, you can hear a man sighing as he sits down on his bed. You hear the rustle of his heavy wool clothes. Further down the hall, someone coughs. It is a dry, hacking sound that echoes in the rafters. It is a strange feeling. You are physically separated from these men, but you are sonically right next to them. It creates a weird kind of intimacy. You know the rhythm of your neighbor's breathing. You know if he has a cold. You know if he tosses and turns in his sleep. You are never truly alone. This is part of the monk's life. They give up everything, even their solitude. They live together, eat together, and sleep together. The wooden wall is just a symbol. It gives you a tiny bit of personal space, just enough to lie down, but it reminds you that you belong to the group. You look at the wood again. It is simple, unpainted timber. There are no decorations, no pictures hanging on the wall, no shells with knickknacks. It is bare. The only feature is a single wooden peg sticking out of the wall. It is a simple hook carved from a branch. This is where you hang your day pouch or your belt. It is the only furniture you have besides the bed. You notice a knot in the wood near your face. It is a dark swirl where a branch used to grow out of the tree. It looks like an eye staring at you. It is a reminder that nature is always watching. The wood smells different than the rest of the room. It smells of pine resin and old oak. It is a dry, dusty smell. It is better than the damp smell of the stone. Wood feels a little bit friendlier than rock. If you lean against the wooden wall, it doesn't suck the heat out of you quite as fast as the stone walls do. It warms up slightly against your shoulder. So, this is your home for the night, a three-sided wooden box in a giant freezing attic. It is simple, it is stark, but it is yours. You step further into the stall. It is not wide. If you stretched out your arms, you could touch both walls at the same time. It is just wide enough for a bed and a tiny strip of floor to stand on. You look down at the floorboards. They are wide and dark. There is no rug, no carpet to keep your feet warm, just the bare timber. You are tired. The walk from the fire has made you sleepy, but the cold is waking you up again. You need to get into bed. You need to get off your feet. You turn your attention to the only other thing in the cubicle, the bed itself. It does not look like the beds we have today. There are no springs. There is no soft memory foam. There is no duvet. It looks lumpy and strange. It looks like a sack filled with garden waste. You look at the bed frame. It is simple wood, low to the ground, and sitting on top of it is the mattress. You reach out a hand to touch it. It makes a loud crunching noise, crackle, rustle. It is time to examine the straw mattress. This is what stands between you and the hard wooden planks. This is where you will try to find a soft spot to rest your head. You look down at the bed. It does not look very inviting. In our world, a bed is a soft white cloud. It is thick and bouncy. But here, the bed looks like a large sack of potatoes left on a shelf. This is called a palliasse. That is a French word that just means straw bed. The outside of the mattress is made of heavy canvas cloth. It is rough and scratchy, like the material used to make ship sails or sacks for grain. It is not white. It is a dull beige color, stained in places from years of use. It looks tough. It has to be tough because of what is inside it. You press your hand down into the middle of the mattress. Crunch. It makes a loud noise. It sounds like you are crushing a bag of crisps or stepping on dry autumn leaves. It does not bounce back like a spring. It just crunches down and stays there. Inside this heavy cloth sack, there is no foam. There are no feathers. It is stuffed full of straw. This is the same yellow straw that they feed to the horses and cows in the barn. Every autumn, after the harvest, the monks go out to the fields. They gather up the dry stalks of wheat and barley. They carry it back to the dormitory in big bundles. They stuff it into these canvas sacks until they are full. It smells strong. You lean in closer. It smells of dry grass and dust. It smells of the summer sun. It is a sweet farmyard smell. It reminds you of a barn. It is not a bad smell, but it is very strong. It makes you want to sneeze. Achoo! You rub your nose. There is a problem with straw. It is not soft. The stalks of straw are stiff. They are hollow tubes that can snap and break, and they have sharp ends. Even through the thick canvas of the mattress cover, the sharp pieces of straw can poke through. You run your hand over the surface. You can feel the prickly ends of the grass stems trying to stick you. It feels like a very worn-out hairbrush. If you sleep on this with bare skin, you will wake up covered in scratches. You will look like you have been rolling around in a hayfield. But luckily, you will not be sleeping with bare skin. We will get to that in a minute. There is another problem with a straw bed. It goes flat. When you first stuff the sack, it is big and round. It is like sleeping on a barrel. But after a few weeks, your heavy body crushes the straw. The hollow tubes break. The air gets squeezed out. The straw turns into dust. By the middle of winter, the mattress is thin and hard. It feels like sleeping on a board with a thin layer of dust on it. You can feel the wooden slats of the bed frame digging into your hips. So, you have to do some work. Before you get into bed, you have to fluff it. You grab the corners of the heavy sack. You shake it. You punch the sides. Whack, whack, whack. You try to break up the clumps of mashed straw. You try to get some air back inside the mattress. It is noisy work. All down the dormitory, you can hear the sound of monks punching their beds. Crunch, rustle, thump. It sounds like a strange drum circle. You try to push the straw towards the middle, to make a little nest for your body. You are trying to make a shape that fits you. You look at the pillow. It is just a smaller version of the mattress. It is a small sack stuffed with the same scratchy straw. It is hard. It does not cradle your head. It feels like resting your head on a log. Most monks wake up with a stiff neck. They wake up with the pattern of the canvas printed on their cheek. But there is one good thing about this straw bed. It is warm. Straw is a great insulator. That means it holds heat well. The hollow tubes of the grass trap air inside them. When you lie on the mattress, your body heat warms up the straw underneath you. The straw holds that warmth and reflects it back to you. It protects you from the cold air coming up through the floorboards. So, even though it is hard and lumpy and noisy, it is warm. It is a nest. You sit down on the edge of the bed. Crinkle. The straw shifts under your weight. You feel yourself sinking in a little bit. It is not comfortable, not really. But it is better than the stone floor. It is better than the wooden bench. You worry a little bit about bugs. Straw is a natural thing. Sometimes little beetles or fleas like to live in the dry grass. They like the warmth too. That is why the monks change the straw a few times a year. They empty the sacks, burn the old dust, and wash the canvas covers in boiling water. It is laundry day, and it is a huge job. But tonight, in the deep winter, the straw is old. It has been there since autumn. You just have to hope the lavender on the floor keeps the bugs away. You pat the lumpy mattress one last time. You have done your best to make it smooth. It is waiting for you. But you are not ready to get under the covers yet. You do not have pajamas to put on. In fact, you are not going to take your clothes off at all. You are going to do something that would seem very strange to us today. You are going to sleep fully dressed. You are sitting on the edge of the crunching straw mattress. Your feet are tired. Your back is aching. In a normal world, this would be the best moment of the day. This would be the moment you take off your work clothes. In our modern life, we have a ritual. We take off our stiff jeans and our tight shirts. We put on soft, loose pajamas made of cotton or silk. We want to be free. We want our skin to breathe. We want to feel light and airy under the heavy duvet. But here, you do not move. You do not reach for a button. You do not untie a lace. You stay exactly as you are. This is one of the strangest rules of the monastery. The monks sleep in their clothes. They sleep in the same heavy outfit they wore while digging in the garden, writing in the library, and eating their dinner. There are two reasons for this. The first reason is speed. Remember the bell? It rang to send you to bed. But it will ring again in the middle of the night. It will ring at 2 a.m. for the night office, the most important prayer service of the day. When that bell rings in the dark, you have to move fast. You cannot be fumbling around in the pitch black looking for your shirt. You cannot be trying to tie your belt with sleepy fingers while the abbot is waiting. You have to be ready to jump up and march down the stairs instantly. You are like a fireman sleeping in his uniform. You are always on duty. The second reason is the cold. Look around you. You are in a giant unheated attic. The wind is blowing through the cracks in the walls. The temperature is dropping every minute. If you took off your heavy wool tunic right now, you would freeze. Your skin would turn into goosebumps in seconds. You would be shivering so hard you couldn't sleep. So your clothes are your pajamas. Your clothes are your sleeping bag. You look down at your belt. It is a thick strip of leather wrapped around your waist. It is worn and cracked. It has a heavy iron buckle. Sleeping with a belt on is not comfortable. The leather digs into your hips. The buckle presses into your stomach when you curl up. It feels restrictive. It reminds you that you are not free. Even in your sleep, you are bound by the rules, but you are allowed a tiny bit of comfort. You reach down with your gloved hands. You find the buckle. You pull the leather strap. Creak. You loosen it just one notch. You let out a breath. Ah, that feels better. The pressure on your stomach releases. You do not take the belt off, that is forbidden, but you let it hang a little looser on your hips. It is a small victory. Next, you have to deal with your knife. Every monk carries a small knife on his belt during the day. It is a tool for eating, for cutting rope, for sharpening pens. But you cannot wear it to bed. The rules are very strict about this. They say you must remove your knife, lest you cut yourself in your sleep. Imagine that, sleeping so deeply on a lumpy straw bed that you roll over and accidentally stab yourself. You find the knife sheath attached to your belt. You pull the small handle. The knife slides out with a soft shh sound. You place it carefully on the wooden shelf above your bed, or perhaps on the floor in the corner. You put it in the exact same spot every night so you can find it in the dark morning. Now you look at your feet. This is the only part of you that gets to be naked, or almost naked. You cannot sleep in your muddy outdoor boots. They are hard and covered in frozen dirt. If you wore them to bed, you would ruin the straw mattress. You lean forward. You unbuckle the straps of your heavy leather boots. The leather is stiff with cold. It fights your fingers. You have to tug hard. Finally, the strap comes loose. You pull your heel up. The boot slides off. Thump. You drop it on the floor. Your foot feels light. It feels wonderful to be out of that heavy leather box. You wiggle your toes, but you do not take off your socks. Your socks are called hose. They are not knitted like modern socks. They are made of waken cotton cloth, cut and sewn to fit the shape of your leg. They go all the way up to your knee. They are made of thick wool. You keep them on. You would be crazy to take them off. The air near the floor is the coldest air in the room. If you exposed your bare toes to this draft, they would be numb in 10 minutes. So, the socks stay. Some monks even have special night boots. These are soft slippers made of felt or fur. They are like cozy socks with a sole. If you are lucky enough to have a pair, you put them on now. They are silent when you walk. They keep your feet toasty warm. So here you are. You are sitting on the edge of the bed. You are wearing a linen shirt, a heavy wool tunic, thick hose, and a leather belt. You are wearing more clothes to bed than most people wear to go outside in the autumn. It feels heavy. You feel bulky. You feel like a bundle of laundry. You swing your legs up onto the mattress. The straw crunches loudly under your weight. You shuffle your body back until your head hits the hard, round pillow. Lying down fully dressed is a strange sensation. The clothes twist a little bit as you move. The wool bunches up under your armpits. The hem of the tunic gets tangled around your legs. You have to do a little wiggle, shaking your body like a wet dog to get everything to settle down flat. You pull your arms in close to your sides. You are encased in layers of fabric. It feels like being swaddled. In a way, it makes you feel safe. You're protected. You have a shell. The heavy cloth presses down on your chest, making you feel grounded. It is like a weighted blanket that people use today for anxiety. The weight of the habit calms you down. You lie there for a moment, looking up at the darkness of the roof. You can feel the rough wall of your sleeve rubbing against your chin. You can smell the day on your clothes, the smoke, the incense, the sweat. You are bringing the day into bed with you. You realize that for a monk, there is no separation between work and rest. It is all one long flow. You pray, you work, you sleep, you pray again. You do not change your costume because the role never changes. You are always a monk. You slide your hands inside your sleeves. This is a common trick. You cross your arms over your chest and tuck your hands into the opposite sleeve cuffs. It creates a warm muff for your fingers. It keeps them from getting cold in the night air. You are almost ready. You are horizontal. You are loosened up. You are bootless, but you are still exposed. The cold air is still touching your face and the top of your tunic. You need one more layer. You need the final shield against the winter. You look down at the bottom of the bed. There is a pile of heavy, dark shapes waiting for you. These are the blankets, but they are not the soft, fluffy blankets you are used to. They are skins. Before you reach for those heavy skins at the end of the bed, take a moment to feel the layer that is already wrapping you up. You are lying still now. The rustling has stopped, and in the quiet, you become very aware of the fabric touching your skin. This is the habit. It is the uniform of the monk. It is the only thing you ever wear, and it is made of wool. But this is not the soft, expensive wool you might buy in a shop today. It is not delicate cashmere or smooth merino. This is raw, rustic wool. It comes from the sheep that graze on the windy hills just outside the abbey walls. It is tough stuff for a tough life. You run your hand over the fabric on your chest. It feels bumpy and coarse. It feels more like a carpet than a piece of clothing. If you rub it the wrong way, it can actually graze your knuckles. This roughness is done on purpose. The monks believe that life should not be too comfortable. Comfort makes you soft. So the clothing is designed to be a constant, gentle reminder of hardship. It scratches your neck. It tickles your wrists. Every time you move, you feel the friction of the cloth. It keeps you awake. It keeps you humble. But tonight, in this freezing attic, you do not mind the scratchiness. You forgive the roughness, because this thick, heavy fabric is a miracle of engineering. You see, this wool has been fulled. That is a process where the cloth is beaten with wooden hammers in water and clay. The beating tangles the fibers together. It shrinks the cloth and makes it incredibly dense. It turns the woven fabric into something almost like felt. This makes it windproof. You can stand on a hill in a gale and the wind will not pass through this tunic. It hits the matted wool and stops. And right now, lying on your straw mattress, that density is saving your life. The habit is trapping a layer of warm air right next to your skin. It is your own personal microclimate. You can feel the heat building up inside the tunic. It is a slow, steady warmth. It feels like you are baking gently inside a crust. There is something else special about this wool. It is oily. You lift your arm and sniff the heavy sleeve. Sniff. It smells deeply of the farm. It smells of wet animal and grassy fields. That smell comes from lanolin. Lanolin is the natural grease found in sheep's wool. In our modern clothes, we wash all the oil out with harsh chemicals to make it smell like flowers. But the monks leave the grease in. This oil is waterproof. If rain falls on your habit, it beads up and rolls off. It does not soak in. And more importantly, the oil keeps the dampness of the stone walls away from your skin. The air in the dormitory is wet and heavy with fog, but your skin stays dry inside this greasy woolen shell. The habit is heavy. It weighs pounds. Lying there, you feel the physical weight of it pressing you down into the straw mattress. It is a comforting pressure. It feels like a hug. It holds you together. You wiggle your shoulders against the mattress. Scritch. Scratch. The sound of the rough wool rubbing against the canvas mattress is loud in the silence. It is a dry, rasping sound. It sounds like sandpaper on wood. You think about the color. You cannot see it in the dark, but you know it is black, or perhaps a deep, undyed grey. It is the color of shadows. It is designed to make you invisible. When you stand in the church at night, you disappear into the darkness. You become just a voice in the choir. But here in bed, the color doesn't matter. Only the thickness matters. You pull the wide sleeve down over your hand. The wool is so thick that the cuff stands up by itself. It forms a tunnel for your fingers. You curl your fingers inside the cuff, hiding them away from the biting air. It feels like putting your hand into a warm, furry burrow. There is a simple truth here. This coat is your house. You carry your shelter with you. You work in it. You pray in it. And you sleep in it. It never changes. It never wears out. It is a faithful friend. The scratchiness on your neck is starting to fade. Your skin is getting used to it. The sensory part of your brain is turning down the volume on the itch signal and turning up the volume on the warmth signal. You feel a wave of gratitude for the sheep. Those animals survive out on the frozen moors all winter with nothing but this coat. And now, you are borrowing their technology. You are surviving the exact same way. But even with this heavy wool suit, you are not quite warm enough. The cold air of the dormitory is relentless. It is pressing against your exposed face. It is creeping around your ankles. The wool can hold your body heat, but it cannot create new heat. You need a boost. You need an external power source. You remember the bundle you are clutching, the heavy object you carried up the stairs, the hot stone. It is sitting on the floor beside your bed, or perhaps resting on your stomach outside the blankets. It is wrapped in its own piece of wool. It is time to deploy it. It is time to introduce the heat to the cold zone at the bottom of the bed. You shift your weight on the crunchy straw. You reach for the warm, heavy bundle. You are about to perform the best part of the nightly ritual. You are holding the prize in your hands. It is the bundle of grey wool with the hot river stone inside. It is heavy, like a large brick, but it feels soft because of the thick cloth wrapping. You can feel the heat radiating through the layers of the wrapper. It is a strong, steady warmth. It warms the palms of your gloves. It warms the chest where you are holding it close. It feels like holding a sickened animal, alive and breathing with heat. But you cannot keep it here against your chest. If you keep it here, your heart will be warm, but your feet will freeze. And every monk knows that you cannot sleep if your feet are blocks of ice. The cold enters through the toes and keeps you awake all night. So, you have to send the stone on a journey. You have to send it to the coldest part of the bed. You lie back on the crunchy straw pillow. You stare up at the dark roof beams. You prepare yourself. This is a bit of a physical struggle. You are dressed in heavy clothes, lying on a lumpy mattress, trying to move a heavy rock without sitting up. You lift your knees slightly, crinkle, crunch. The straw mattress complains under you. You take one hand and lift the heavy covers at the side of your bed. We haven't talked about the covers, yet the heavy animal skins, but you have to lift them up just a crack. Immediately, a slice of freezing air tries to rush into your bed. It attacks your side. You have to be quick. You shove the wrap stone into the gap. You push it under the heavy blankets. You let the covers drop back down instantly to seal the heat in. Now the stone is inside the cave with you. It is resting against your hip. It feels incredibly hot compared to the rest of the bed. It is a shock, but a good shock. Now comes the hard part. You have to slide it down. You use your hand to push the bundle. You push it past your hip. It slides over the rough wool of your tunic. Swish. The wool of the wrapper rubs against the wool of your clothes. It is high friction. It doesn't slide easily like silk. You have to shove it. You push it past your thigh. You can feel the heat traveling through your heavy hose socks. It feels like a hot iron moving down your leg. You have to stretch your arm out as far as it will go. You push the stone past your knees. Now, it is out of reach of your hands. You cannot push it any further with your fingers. You have to use your feet. You draw your legs up, bending your knees. You find the stone with your feet. You clamp your boots or your stockinged feet around the bundle. You use your feet to shuffle it down. Kick, shuffle, push. It is awkward. You are wiggling around like a worm in the straw. Your heavy habit gets twisted around your legs. You have to stop and kick your legs free. But slowly, the stone moves. It travels down your shins. It travels past your ankles. Finally, thump, the stone hits the wooden board at the very bottom of the bed. It has reached its destination. It is sitting right at the end of the mattress, in the zone where the cold usually lives. You stretch your legs out straight again. You rest the soles of your feet against the warm bundle. Oh, the feeling is instant. The heat jumps from the stone, through the wall wrapper, through your socks and into your toes. It is a delicious feeling. It makes you sigh out loud in the darkness. Shh. The relief washes over you. Your toes were tight and curled up from the cold floor. Now they start to relax. The blood vessels open up. You can feel the warmth traveling up from your ankles to your calves. The stone acts like an anchor. It is heavy, so it holds the covers down at the bottom of the bed. It stops the drafts from blowing up your legs. It weighs down the end of the mattress. You lie still and just appreciate the engineering of this moment. Think about what you have done. You have created a central heating system in your bed. The heat source is at the bottom. Heat rises, so the warmth from the stone will drift up the length of your body under the blankets, warming your legs and your torso. It is a thermal engine. It will keep working for hours. The stone is dense. It holds so much energy from the big fire downstairs. It will release that energy slowly, minute by minute, while you dream. You move your feet a little, nestling them into the bundle. You try to find the best spot. You can rest your heels on top of it. You can squeeze it between your arches. You can press your toes right against the side. It feels solid. It feels permanent. In a world of wind and wooden walls, this heavy rock is something you can trust. It is not going anywhere. You can smell the hot wool again. The scent drifts up from the bottom of the bed. It is a toasty, dry smell. It smells like a hot iron on a flannel shirt. It masks the smell of the damp air. You realize that this stone is more than just a heater. It is a companion. In the lonely, silent dormitory, it is a presence. It is a little piece of the sun that you have captured and brought to bed with you. Most of the other monks are doing the same thing right now. You can hear the rustling and the soft thumps as 20 or 30 stones are kicked to the bottom of 20 or 30 beds. It is the sound of the night shift settling in. You wonder about the monk who wrapped this stone. You wonder if he knew how much you needed this. You feel a sense of gratitude to the community. You are all looking out for each other. You are all sharing the fire. The stone is very hot now. It is almost too hot to keep your feet against it constantly. So you pull your feet back an inch. You let the air gap warm up. Then, when you get chilly, you press your feet forward again. You play a game of tag with the stone. Touch, warm, pull back, cool, touch, warm. This rhythm is soothing. It helps you relax even more. Your mind focuses on the sensation of heat in your feet, and it stops worrying about the cold wind outside. You feel your body getting heavy. The day is finally letting go of you. The walk to the abbey, the cold church, the work in the fields, it all feels far away. There is only this small, warm tunnel under the blankets. But there is one last step to making this bed secure. You have the stone. You have the clothes. But you still need the roof. You need to pull up the final layer of defense. You need to cover yourself with the heavy skins that will trap this precious heat and keep it from escaping into the huge, dark room. You reach down with your hands to the pile of heavy, dark material bunched up at your waist. You are ready to disappear completely. You are ready to tuck in. You keep your feet pressed gently against the warm stone. You wiggle your toes. You flex your ankles. It feels almost like magic. To understand why this feels so good, you have to remember what your feet have been through today. We need to talk about the cold floor. For the last 12 hours, your feet have been fighting the wall, and they have been losing. The floor of the abbey is made of stone flags. These are not like the floors in a modern house. There is no insulation underneath them. They are laid directly onto the wet, frozen earth. This means the ground temperature travels straight up into the rock. The floor is always the coldest thing in the room. Heat rises up to the ceiling, leaving the cold air to sink down and settle on the pavement. It forms a lake of invisible ice water around your ankles. When you walk, it is bad. The thin leather of your boots does not stop the cold. With every step, the stone sucks a little bit more heat out of your body. It is like walking on blocks of ice. But when you stand still, it is even worse. Think about the long church services. You have to stand in your stall for an hour, sometimes 2 hours, singing and praying. You are not allowed to move. You are not allowed to stamp your feet to keep the blood flowing. You just have to stand there glued to the freezing rock. After the first 20 minutes, your toes start to hurt. They ache with a dull, throbbing pain. After 40 minutes, the pain stops. This is actually worse. The pain stops because your feet have gone numb. They have gone to sleep. You lose the feeling in them completely. When the bell finally rings and you have to walk away, it feels very strange. You look down, but you cannot feel the floor. It feels like you are walking on 2 wooden stumps. You stumble a little bit because your brain cannot tell where your feet are landing. You are walking on dead feet. This is a dangerous thing. Many monks suffer from chilblains. These are red, itchy swellings that happen when skin gets too cold and then warms up too fast. They are painful. They make it hard to walk. They are the battle scars of the winter. But now, lying in this bed, the battle is turning. The heat from the river stone is doing something wonderful. It is reversing the damage. You can feel the sensation coming back. It starts as a tickle. Then it turns into pins and needles. It feels like thousands of tiny sparks are dancing inside your socks. It stings a little bit. It is a sharp, prickly feeling. In a normal situation, this might be annoying, but right now, it is the best feeling in the world. It means the blood is returning. It means the life is coming back to your frozen extremities. You push your feet closer to the bundle. You want to speed up the process. You want to drive the winter out of your heels. You can imagine the heat traveling up your legs. It is melting the invisible ice that has been gripping your calves all day. Your muscles, which have been tight and clenched to keep you upright on the slippery floor, are finally letting go. They are turning soft and heavy. You realize that your feet are the most important part of your body for survival here. If your feet are cold, your whole body feels cold. You cannot think, you cannot pray, you cannot sleep. But if your feet are warm, you can survive anything. You can tolerate the freezing air on your face. You can ignore the draft from the wall. As long as your toes are toasty, you feel safe. The stone is your doctor. It is healing you. You take a deep breath. You let your legs flop outwards, relaxed and heavy. The tension drains out of you. You are no longer standing on the hard, unforgiving earth. You are floating on a raft of straw with a small fire at your feet. The silence in the room seems deeper now. The wind outside seems further away. You have fixed the biggest problem of the night. You have conquered the cold floor. Now that your feet are taken care of, you can focus on the rest of you. You are still exposed from the waist up. The cold air of the dormitory is still pressing down on your chest. You need to complete your shelter. You need to pull up the main defense. You reach down with your hands. You feel the heavy, furry weight of the covers waiting at the bottom of the bed. It is time to disappear under the skins. You grab the thick bundle of covers with your hands. You have to grip them tight. These are not light, fluffy sheets. They are heavy. This top layer is made of skins. In the medieval days, cloth was expensive, but sheepskins were common. The monks would take the skins from the sheep they ate. They would tan the leather and sew the skins together to make a giant, heavy rug. You pull. Heave. It takes a bit of effort. The skins are heavy and stiff. They slide up your body slowly. They drag across the wool of your tunic. You pull them up past your waist. You pull them up over your chest. You pull them all the way up to your chin. Immediately, you feel the weight. It feels like someone is pressing down on you. It is a crushing weight, but in a good way. It feels like a big, friendly dog has decided to lie down on top of you. It pins you to the mattress. It stops you from moving around. This weight is important. If the covers were light, the drafts in the room would blow them around. The cold air would lift the edges and sneak in. But these skins are too heavy to be moved by the wind. They seal you in. You turn on your side, rustle, crunch. You do the tuck. You grab the edge of the heavy skins and jam them underneath your body. You use your shoulder to pin the edge down. You do the same with your hips. You are sealing the edges of your tent. Now, you are in a cocoon. You check your position. Your feet are touching the hot stone. Your body is wrapped in the wool habit. And now, you are buried under a mountain of fur. The fur on the inside of the skins is facing down. It touches your hands. It feels soft and crinkly. It traps pockets of warm air in the curly fleece. The leather side is facing up, blocking the wind falling from the roof. You pull the covers up even higher. You want to hide. You cover your mouth. You cover your ears. Now only your nose and your eyes are sticking out. You take a breath. The air inside the blanket is starting to warm up. You can smell the leather. It is a rich, dark smell. It smells like an old saddle or a pair of work boots. It is the smell of the outdoors, but now it is keeping you safe indoors. You look up at the dark room. You can see the faint outline of the roof beams above you, but you feel separated from them now. You are in your own little cave. The cold air tries to touch you. It brushes against your nose. It feels icy, but it cannot get past the wall of fur. You smile a little bit. You have built a fortress. You let your head sink deeper into the straw pillow. The pillow is hard, but now that you are warm, it doesn't bother you as much. You wiggle your shoulders one last time to get comfortable. You are fully tucked in. You are completely immobile. You couldn't move quickly if you wanted to, but you don't want to. You just want to lie here and let the heat build up. You are ready to close your eyes. You are ready to test if this system actually works. You are ready to feel the heat trap closing around you. You lie perfectly still in the darkness. You have stopped moving. You have stopped wiggling. You are just waiting. For the first minute, nothing happens. The bed still feels cold around your shoulders. The air inside the covers feels thin. You might shiver one last time, a little shudder that runs through your body. But then the machine starts to work. You have built a heat trap. That is exactly what this bed is. It is a machine designed to catch energy and refuse to let it go. Think about where the heat comes from. You have the hot stone at your feet, pumping warmth up your legs. But the real fire is you. Your body is a furnace. Your heart is pumping blood. Your stomach is digesting your dinner. You are generating heat every second. Usually, that heat just floats away into the air and is lost. But tonight, you have trapped it. The heat tries to escape from your skin. It tries to rise up, but it hits the first barrier, your wool tunic. The wool says no. The thick, matted fibers of your habit catch the warm air. They hold it close to your chest. The heat swirls around in the tiny gaps between the wool and your skin. Some of the heat manages to push through the tunic. It tries to keep going, but then it hits the second barrier, the heavy animal skins. The leather says no. The thick, dense skin stops the heat dead in its tracks. It bounces the warmth back down towards you. It is like an echo. Your body sends out a wave of warmth. The covers send it back. Then your body sends out more. The covers send that back too. The heat begins to stack up. It builds layer upon layer. You can actually feel the temperature rising. It is not sudden. It is slow and steady. It feels like someone is slowly turning up the dial on a heater. First, your hips get warm. Then your stomach. Then your shoulders. The air inside the bed changes. It stops feeling like thin, cold air. It starts to feel thick and heavy. It becomes a microclimate. Outside your covers, it is freezing. If you put a cup of water on the floor, it would turn to ice. But inside your little cave, it is like a tropical island. It is summer in here. You take a slow breath. You can feel the contrast. Your nose is sticking out into the cold room. When you breathe in, the air is sharp and frosty. It chills your nostrils, but the rest of you is baking. It is a wonderful feeling. It is the joy of being safe from the storm. You think about the nap. That is the special name for the surface of the wool blankets. If you looked at the wool under a magnifying glass, you would see thousands of tiny little hairs standing up. They look like a forest of tiny trees. These hairs are the workers. They trap the air. Air is actually the best insulator in the world. If you can stop air from moving, you stop the cold. So you are wrapped in thousands of tiny pockets of still air. You're wearing a suit made of air bubbles. You feel your muscles melting. When you are cold, your body is tight. You hold yourself stiffly to keep warm. Your jaw is tight. Your fists are clenched. But now, the heat tells your brain that the danger is over. You feel your legs getting heavy. They sink deeper into the straw mattress. You feel your hands uncurl inside your sleeves. Your fingers go loose. You feel your jaw relax. Your mouth opens just a tiny bit. You feel your eyelids getting heavy. It is a physical weight. It feels like someone is gently pressing down on your eyes with warm thumbs. You are entering the safety zone. For a medieval person, the night is a scary time. It is dark. There are wolves in the forest. There are thieves on the roads. There are ghosts in the stories. But in here, under the heavy skins, nothing can touch you. You are hidden. You are invisible. The weight of the covers is a big part of this feeling. It is called deep pressure stimulation. It calms down your nervous system. It slows your heart rate. Thump, thump, thump. Your heart slows down to a resting beat. The blood moves slowly and lazily through your veins, carrying the warmth from the hot stone all the way to your fingertips. You listen to the room. You can hear the wind whistling through the roof tiles. Hoo, hoo. It sounds angry. It sounds like it is searching for you. But it cannot find you. You are buried too deep. You can hear the breathing of the other monks. 50 men, all lying in their own little heat traps. In, out, in, out. In this collective rhythm. It sounds like the ocean washing up on a shore. It is a peaceful sound. It reminds you that you are not alone. You are part of a sleeping army. You start to drift. Your thoughts begin to slow down. The problems of the day fade away. The argument you had in the library, gone. The mistake you made in the garden, gone. The cold stone floor, gone. There is only the warmth. It is a golden, fuzzy feeling. It wraps around your mind just like the blankets wrap around your body. You are floating in a warm, dark void. You shift your leg slightly. Your foot bumps against the hot stone again. It gives you one last little kiss of heat. It is a reminder that the fire is still with you. You are ready to sleep. You have done everything right. You have survived the day. You have survived the cold evening. You have built your nest. You let go. You let yourself fall into the blackness. But just as you are about to disappear into dreams, a thought comes to you. You know that this peace cannot last forever. You know the bell is waiting. You know that in a few hours, the night shift will really begin. But for now, you push that thought away. You have a few hours of paradise. You sink deeper into the straw. You breathe out a long, slow sigh of warm air. And then, everything goes dark. You are deep in a dream. You are floating in a warm, dark place. Maybe you are dreaming of the summer harvest, standing in a field of golden wheat with the hot sun on your back. Maybe you are dreaming of sitting by the big fire in the warming room again. You are safe. You are comfortable. The heavy sheepskins are pressing you down into the mattress. The hot stone is still nudging your feet with a gentle warmth. Your breathing is slow and deep. But then, something pulls you back. It starts as a sound on the edge of your dream. It is a low, rhythmic thumping. At first, your sleeping brain tries to ignore it. You try to weave it into your dream. Maybe it is the sound of a hammer or a horse riding by. But the sound gets louder. It gets clearer. It cuts through the fog of sleep. Clang, clang. Your eyes snap open. For a second, you do not know where you are. It is pitch black. The darkness is so thick it feels like a blindfold tied over your eyes. You cannot see your hand in front of your face. You cannot see the wooden wall of your cell. You cannot see the roof. You lie there, blinking, trying to make sense of the world. Then you remember. You are in the dormitory. You are a monk, and the bell is calling you. It is the midnight bell. Actually, it is usually about 2 o'clock in the morning. But in the winter, when the nights are 16 hours long, it feels like the deepest, darkest part of the night. This is the time of the nocturnes or matins. It is the most important prayer service of the entire day. Most people in the world are asleep right now. The farmers in the village are asleep. The king in his castle is asleep. The birds in the trees are asleep. But you are awake. This is the deal you made when you joined the abbey. You promised to keep the night watch. You promised to wake up while the rest of the world rest to pray for their souls. You are like a soldier on guard duty, but instead of a sword, you have a prayer book. You lie still for one more moment. This is the hardest moment of the monk's life. Your body is heavy. It feels like lead. Your muscles are completely relaxed and filled with sleep. Your brain is foggy. It feels like it is stuffed with cotton wool. Every single cell in your body is screaming at you to stay in bed. Just 5 more minutes, your body says. Just stay here in the warmth. It is so tempting. Under the covers, it is a tropical paradise. The heat you built up over the last few hours is perfect. You are toasted and cozy. But outside the covers, the enemy is waiting. You can feel the cold air hovering just above your face. It is colder now than when you went to bed. The temperature has dropped steadily all night. The air feels sharp and brittle. If you move the covers even an inch, the cold will rush in like water sinking a boat. But the bell does not care about your comfort. Clang, clang. It is a relentless sound. It is not angry, but it is firm. It demands obedience. It reminds obedience. It reminds you that you are not your own master. The time belongs to the abbey. You hear a sound from the cell next to you. Rustle. Crunch. Your neighbor is moving. You hear a deep sigh. It is a groan of tiredness. Then you hear the sound of straw shifting as he sits up. If he is getting up, you must get up too. You cannot be the only one left in bed. That would be a sin. That would be sloth, the sin of laziness. So you summon your will. You take a deep breath to brace yourself. You count to 3. 1, 2, 3. You throw the heavy skins back. Whoosh! The cold hits you like a slap in the face. It is instant and shocking. It rushes over your warm tunic. It bites your hands. It nips at your ears. The warm bubble of air you created is gone in a second, drifting up to the rafters. You sit up quickly. The straw mattress crunches loudly. You swing your legs over the side of the bed. Your feet search for the floor. They miss the warm stone bundle. You have to leave it behind. Your stockinged feet hit the wooden floorboards. The wood is freezing. It feels like stepping onto a frozen pond. You are awake now. The shock of the cold has chased the sleep away. Your heart starts to beat faster. You are shivering. Your teeth want to chatter, but you clench your jaw to stop them. You have to move fast. Speed is the only way to stay warm. You stand up. You are a little wobbly. Your head spins a bit from standing up so quickly in the dark. You reach out and grab the top of the wooden partition to steady yourself. You do not have to get dressed because you never got undressed. You are already wearing your tunic, your belt, and your socks. This is the genius of the system. You are ready to go in 5 seconds. You reach for your boots. They are sitting on the floor where you left them. The leather is stiff and cold. You jam your feet into them. Thump, thump. You fumble with the straps in the dark. Your fingers are stiff and you can't see the buckles, but your hands know what to do. You have done this 1,000 times. You reach for your heavy cloak. It is hanging on the peg. You swing it around your shoulders. It is cold and heavy, but it cuts the wind. You pull the hood up over your head. Now, you are just a dark shape in a dark room. You step out of your cell and into the main aisle of the dormitory. You are not alone. All down the long hall, shadows are emerging from the wooden stalls. It looks like a scene from a ghost story. Dark, hooded figures are stepping silently into the central passage. No one speaks. The great silence is still in effect. You cannot say good morning. You cannot complain about the cold. You cannot say I'm tired. You just nod at the brother next to you. He nods back. You are comrades in the dark. The lantern has returned. The abbot or the prior is standing at the end of the hall holding the light. It is a beacon. It tells you where to go. The bell has stopped ringing. The silence returns to the room, but now it is a busy silence. It is filled with the sound of 50 men shuffling their feet, the swish of wool robes, and the sharp intake of breath in the frosty air. You join the line. You fall into step. You leave your warm straw nest behind. You leave the heat trap. You leave the little stone that is slowly cooling down at the bottom of your bed. You will be back in 2 hours, but by then the stone will be lukewarm and you will have to warm the bed up all over again. But you do not think about that. You focus on the task ahead. You have to walk down the night stairs. You have to go into the church. You have to sing. You wrap your arms around your chest, tucking your hands into your sleeves. You lower your head. You follow the feet of the monk in front of you. You begin the march towards the stairs. The night shift has officially begun. You move with the line of monks towards the archway. You are leaving the dormitory behind. You step back onto the top of the night stairs. Going down is different from going up. When you climbed these stairs earlier, you were tired, but you were heading towards rest. Now you are heading towards work, and gravity is pulling you down into the dark. You have to be very careful. The stone steps are steep. They are worn, smooth, and slippery. In the dark, it would be easy to miss a step. If you fall here, you will tumble a long way down. So, you reach out and touch the wall. The stone is freezing. It feels damp and slimy, like the wall of a cave. You use it to guide you. You slide your hand along the rough blocks as you descend. Step, step, step. The only light comes from the lantern far below, carried by the monk at the front of the line. It casts long, weird shadows that stretch up the staircase walls. The shadows look like tall, thin giants dancing as the light swings back and forth. The air gets colder as you go down. You are descending into the deep stone heart of the building. The air here has not seen the sun for centuries. It is heavy and still. It smells of old stone dust and something sweet, the smell of incense that has soaked into the walls over hundreds of years. You reach the bottom of the stairs. You step through a tall, arched doorway. You are now in the church. It is impossible to describe how big this room feels. Even in the dark, especially in the dark, it feels enormous. It is like standing inside the belly of a giant stone whale. The roof is so high above you that you cannot see it. It is lost in the blackness. You know there are stone ribs curving across the ceiling up there, but they are invisible tonight. You just feel the vast empty space hanging over your head. You feel very small. This building was designed to make you feel small. It was built to make you feel like a tiny speck of dust compared to the greatness of God. And tonight, standing in the freezing dark, it is working. You walk forward. Your boots make a sharp clack on the stone floor. Clack, clack, clack. The sound doesn't stop instantly. It travels. It flies up into the darkness and bounces off the walls. It comes back to you as a faint echo a second later. The whole building is an echo chamber. If you whispered a secret here, the walls would whisper it back to you. Because of this, everyone walks carefully. No one drags their feet. No one coughs. The silence of the church is a heavy, fragile thing. You do not want to break it. You look around. To your left and right, massive stone pillars rise up like tree trunks. They are thick and solid. They hold up the weight of the roof. In the dim light, they look like a forest of stone. You cannot see the other side of the church. The rows of pillars just fade away into the gloom. There is no furniture here in the main part of the church. It is just an open, empty floor. This is where the normal people from the village stand on Sundays. But tonight, there are no villagers. The great doors at the end of the church are locked tight. The village is asleep. You are the only ones here. You move towards the center of the building. You are heading for the choir. This is a special area built just for the monks. It is a wooden enclosure sitting inside the giant stone room. It is like a room within a room. You step through a wooden screen. Suddenly, the space feels a little more intimate. You are surrounded by dark, polished wood. On both sides of the aisle, there are rows of wooden seats. These are the stalls. This is where you will spend the next 2 hours. You find your spot. It is the same spot you sit in every single day. You know every scratch on the wood. You know the exact grain of the timber. You stand in front of your stool. You do not sit down yet. You have to wait for the signal. You look up towards the front of the church, towards the altar. In the distance, you see a tiny red light. It is a single lamp. It hangs from a chain in the ceiling. It is always burning, day and night. It never goes out. It is a tiny spark of fire in this cavern of ice. It looks lonely. It looks brave. It is the only bit of color in a world of grey and black. The windows of the church are tall and narrow. During the day, they are filled with stained glass that glows like jewels, red, blue, and gold. But at night, the stained glass dies. Without the sun to light it up, the glass is just black and grey. The pictures of the saints and the angels have disappeared. The windows just look like dark holes letting in the starlight. You wrap your cloak tighter around you. It is colder here than outside. Outside, the wind moves the air around. But in here, the cold is trapped. It settles in the corners. It seeps out of the floor. It is a holy cold. It feels pure and sharp. It wakes you up completely. You look at the monks standing across from you in the opposite stalls. They are just dark shapes. You can't see their faces, hidden deep inside their hoods. They look like statues. They are perfectly still. This is the night watch. You are guarding the world while it sleeps. You believe that your prayers are a shield, protecting the village and the crops and the king from evil. It is a serious job. The abbot walks to his place at the end of the row. He sets the lantern down on a small stand. The light flickers. It casts long, jumping shadows against the high stone walls. For a second, the shadow of the abbot looks 50 feet tall, looming over the choir. Then there is a sound, a sharp wooden knock. The abbot has rapped his knuckles on his stall. This is the signal. All at once, 50 men bow. The rustle of 50 wool cloaks sounds like a sudden gust of wind. Swish. Then silence again. You straighten up. You are ready to begin. The singing is about to start. But before you can sing, you need light. You cannot read the words in this pitch blackness. You need to see the book. And for that, you need the little yellow flames that are waiting to be born. You are standing in the dark wooden stall. In front of you is a large, heavy book. It is resting on a slanted wooden desk. But you cannot read a single word. The book is just a grey square in the shadows. Then you see a movement at the end of the row. A monk is walking towards you. He's carrying a long stick. At the end of the stick, there is a tiny, flickering flame. He is the light bringer. He stops at the first monk. He lowers the stick. He touches his flame to the candle sitting on the desk. Psst. A tiny sound, like a whisper. The wick catches. A new yellow flame pops into existence. It is small at first, struggling against the cold air, but then it grows. It stands up straight and bright. The light bringer moves to the next monk, and the next. It is beautiful to watch. One by one, little stars are appearing in the darkness. It looks like a slow wave of light traveling down the line. It lights up the faces of the men. You see a nose here, a chin there, the glint of an eye deep inside a hood. He reaches you. He lowers the flame. You watch the fire jump from his stick to your candle. It happens in a split second. Now you have your own personal sun. You look at the candle. It is not made of white wax like the ones we have today. It is a yellowish-brown color. It is made of beeswax. It smells wonderful. As the flame melts the wax, a sweet scent rises up. It smells of honey and summer flowers. It mixes with the smell of the cold stone and the old wood. It is a warm, comforting smell. The candle is not just for decoration. It is a tool. Without it, you cannot do your job. The light falls onto the book in front of you. Suddenly, the grey page comes alive. You can see the words. They are written in thick, black ink. The letters are huge and square. You can see the red and blue decorations painted in the margins. The gold leaf on the page catches the candlelight and sparkles. It looks like the page is glowing from the inside. You feel a little bit of warmth from the candle. It is tiny, just a single flame, but your face can feel it. You lean forward slightly, bringing your nose closer to the light. It warms your frozen cheeks. It warms the tip of your nose. Now, the singing begins. It does not start with a shout. It starts with a low hum. It is a deep vibrating sound that comes from the chests of 50 men. Then the words start. It is a chant. The notes are long and slow. There is no music, no drums, no organ. Just the sound of human voices blending together. The sound rises up into the dark roof. It fills the cold air. It seems to push the darkness back. The stone walls catch the sound and hold it. The whole building feels like it is vibrating. Singing is hard work. It takes energy. You have to breathe deep. You have to use your stomach muscles. And this is a good thing. The effort of singing actually warms you up. You can feel your blood pumping a little faster. The vibration of the sound in your chest makes you feel alive. You watch the breath of the monks across the aisle. As they sing, clouds of white steam puff out of their mouths. In the candlelight, the steam looks like smoke. It looks like 50 dragons breathing in the dark. You have to stand for a long time. The service goes on for an hour, maybe 2. Your legs get tired. Your back starts to ache. The cold floor attacks your feet again, trying to undo the good work of the hot stone. But the monks have a secret. Look down at the wooden seat behind you. It is made of dark oak. It folds up like a seat in a cinema. When you stand up, the seat flips back against the wall. But look closely at the underside of the seat. There is a little ledge. It is a small piece of wood sticking out just a few inches. This is called a misericord. That means mercy seat. It is a clever little trick. The rules say you must stand during the prayers. You cannot sit down, but standing for 2 hours at 2 a.m. is exhausting. So the monks invented this ledge. You lean back, you rest your bottom on the little shelf. You are not fully sitting, your legs are still straight, and your feet are on the floor. But the shelf takes the weight off your legs. It holds you up. It allows you to rest while still looking like you are standing. It is a small mercy. It saves your knees. It keeps you from collapsing on the stone floor. You lean your weight back against the solid wood. You feel the support. You are grateful for the carpenter who carved this hundreds of years ago. You look around the choir. The scene is hypnotic. The rows of monks, the rows of candles, the clouds of steam, the deep, rolling sound of the chant. It is a machine of prayer. It keeps going, night after night, century after century. The flame of your candle flickers. A draught of cold air has found its way into the choir. The flame dances wildly, casting crazy shadows on the page of your book. You cup your hand around the flame to protect it. You feel the heat against your palm. You save the light. The wax drips down the side of the candle. Drip, drip. It lands on the iron spike that holds the candle. It hardens instantly in the cold air, forming long, weird shapes like icicles. You feel sleepy. The sound of the chanting is like a lullaby. It is repetitive and soothing. Your eyes want to close. The candle flame blurs into a fuzzy ball of light, but you fight it. You shake your head. You focus on the black letters on the page. You focus on the scratchy feeling of your wool habit. You focus on the cold air biting your ears. You have to stay awake. You have to finish the watch. Finally, the singing changes. The notes get lower. The rhythm slows down. The last word is sung. The sound echoes one last time and then fades away into silence. The service is over. The abbot knocks on his stool again. Knock. It is time to leave. But you do not leave the light behind. You blow out your candle. Puff. A thin trail of grey smoke rises up from the wick. It smells sharp and acrid. The beautiful pool of light vanishes. You are back in the grey gloom. But the sun is coming. You can feel a change in the air. The deep, heavy blackness of the night is starting to thin out. The windows high up in the wall are turning from black to a deep, dark blue. You turn to follow the line of monks out of the choir. You are stiff. Your feet are cold again. But you have made it. You have survived the darkest part of the night. You walk back towards the stone stairs. But this time, you do not go up to the dormitory. The night sleep is over. It is time to start the day. But first, you will get to see the reward for your long, cold vigil. You will get to see the morning return to the abbey. You walk out of the wooden choir stall. The heavy oak seat fits back against the wall with a soft thud. You step onto the stone floor. Your legs feel stiff from standing so long, but the movement helps. The blood starts to flow again. You follow the line of monks, but this time the mood is different. The heavy, crushing darkness is gone. You look up at the tall windows. 20 minutes ago, they were just black holes. Now, they're a deep, glowing blue. It is the color of the deep ocean. It is the blue hour. This is the time just before the sunrise, when the world is caught between night and day. You can see the shapes of the stained glass beginning to appear. The red robes of the saints look purple in the low light. The gold halos look like dull bronze. They are waking up. They are waiting for the sun to hit them and turn them into fire. You walk down the long aisle of the church. The pillars are no longer terrifying giants hiding in the dark. They are just stone columns again. You can see the texture of the rock. You can see the dust motes dancing in the pale light. The mystery of the night is fading, replaced by the simple reality of the morning. You reach the heavy door at the side of the church. You push it open. Creak. You step out into the cloister. The air hits you instantly. It is the coldest air of the entire night. They say it is always darkest before the dawn, but it is also coldest before the dawn. The sun has been gone for a long time, and the earth has lost all its heat. The air feels thin and sharp, like breathing in crushed ice. But you do not mind, because the light is here. You look out into the central garden, the garth. Last night, it was a pit of black ink. Now it is a wonderland of white. The frost has settled on everything. The grass is stiff and white, like blades of sugar. The bushes are covered in a delicate lace of ice. A spider's web stretches between two columns. The frost has caught every single thread of the web. It looks like a necklace made of diamonds hanging in the air. You walk along the stone pavement of the walkway. The snowdrift that blew in last night is still there in the corner, but now it looks clean and bright. You stop at the corner of the cloister. You look east. This is a rule of the monastery. The church is always built facing east. This is called orientation. It comes from the Latin word for east. The monks wanted to be facing the sunrise when they prayed. They wanted the light of the new day to flood into the building. You watch the horizon. The sky is changing fast. The deep blue is turning into a pale grey. Then a line of pink appears at the bottom of the sky. It looks like a ribbon of silk stretching across the hills. Then it happens. The rim of the sun peeks over the edge of the world. It is a blinding flash of gold. The light shoots across the frozen fields. It hits the top of the abbey tower first. You look up. The top of the square stone tower is suddenly on fire. The grey stone turns a brilliant, glowing orange. It looks beautiful against the blue sky. The light slides down the tower, foot by foot. It chases the shadows away. It hits the roof of the church. The frost on the roof tiles begins to sparkle. It feels like a victory. You have survived the night. You have fought the wind and the freezing stone and the darkness. And you won. The sun has returned. The world has not ended. You hear a sound from the garden. Cheap. It is a small brown bird, a robin. It is sitting on a frozen bush, puffing out its chest. It sings a little song. It is a happy, trilling sound. It is the first voice of the morning. It breaks the great silence of the night. Soon other birds join in. A blackbird calls from the roof. A crow caws from the fields. The silence is shattered. The world is waking up. You look at the monks walking ahead of you. They are pulling back their hoods. You can see their faces clearly now. They look tired. Their eyes are red. Their skin is pale from the cold. But they look peaceful. They've done their duty. They have kept the watch. They do not stop to admire the sunset. They have work to do. Some of them are heading to the chapter house for a meeting. Some are heading to the kitchen to bake the bread. Some are heading to the fields to check on the sheep. The night shift is over. The day shift has begun. But you stay for a moment. You lean against the stone column. The stone is still freezing cold under your hand, but the sunlight is hitting your face. You close your eyes and feel the light. It is weak. It is a winter sun. It doesn't have much heat yet, but it feels different than the heat of the fire or the heat of the stone in your bed. It feels clean. It feels fresh. It is the promise that the winter will not last forever. You think about the cycle of this place. Tonight the sun will go down again. The cold will return. The wind will howl. The frost will bite. The monks will wrap their hot stones and climb the stairs to their freezing attic. They will do it all again. But that is a problem for tonight. Right now the sky is blue. The light is gold. The abbey is waking up. You take a deep breath of the morning air. It smells of wet grass and melting frost. It clears your head. You feel awake. You feel strong. You step away from the column. You look back at the dark door of the warming room. The fire in there has been raked over and fed with new logs. It is roaring again, ready to warm the frozen fingers of the scribes. You look up at the dormitory window. The beds are empty now. The straw mattresses are cooling down, waiting for the night to return. You walk towards the main gate. The porter has opened the wicket door. A beam of sunlight is streaming through the opening, cutting through the shadows of the tunnel. You step through the gate. You walk out of the abbey walls and back onto the country path. The frozen mud is starting to soften just a little bit in the sun. You turn around one last time. The abbey stands tall and grey in the morning light. It looks solid. It looks like it will stand there for 1,000 years. And inside, the hidden battle for warmth continues. The wool, the wood, the stone, and the fire. You pull your cloak tight, but not against the cold this time. You wrap it around you like a memory. You carry the story of the night with you. You know the secret now. You know how they survive. You turn your face to the sun. You start to walk home. The long night is finished. Now Let the image of the stone abbey fade away. Let the cold wind stop blowing. Let the sound of the chanting fade into silence. Let the smell of the wood smoke drift away. You are no longer standing on the frozen ground. You are no longer wearing rough, scratchy wool. You are not fighting to stay warm. You are back in your own time. You are back in your own bed. Feel the difference. Your bed is soft. It is not made of straw and canvas. It cradles your body. There are no hardboards underneath you. There are no drafts blowing through the walls. You are perfectly warm. You do not need a hot stone or heavy sheepskins. The air in your room is gentle and still. You are safe. Feel your body sinking down into the mattress. Your legs are heavy. Your arms are heavy. Your eyelids are so heavy you could not open them if you tried. The work is done. You do not have to wake up for a bell. You do not have to stand on a cold floor. You have the luxury of rest. You have the luxury of sleep. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel the clean, warm air filling your lungs. Let go of any tension left in your muscles. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. The story of the monks is over. They are safe in their time, and you are safe in yours. The past is sleeping, and now you can sleep too. Drift away into the quiet, warm darkness. The sun is rising. The gates are opening. The watch is ended.